morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it is 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mac, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker, and Second Alert weather to start off today, July 11th, 2024. Kids, it is 69 degrees outside on July 11th in St. Louis.
As of right now, but what about later in the day,
Later
Randy?
in the day, high of 87 in St. Louis today.
That doesn't feel bad.
It's golfing weather.
Are you going golfing?
I might find a way to get out on a course or a driving range somewhere.
You going to do a little payola of some sort and get out there?
Yeah, a little Ranger Randy action.
Yeah.
Maybe out on the range. Yeah. Brooke is wearing her St. Louis City SC cap this morning. Danny is wearing his Norwood Hills cap. If you join us this morning on the Air Alliance Team Studio Cam on YouTube, just go to YouTube and type in 101 ESPN STL. You'll be able to see said caps. But you're still on the bandwagon, Brooke.
I am. I'm still, of course, rooting for the home team, City SC. We'll pull things together. Go team. So, yeah.
We will pull things together, yeah.
Rocchio just shook his head at me.
The phrase "we'll pull things together, go team" just sounded really weird. It's not a phrase you hear very often in these rooms.
And Danny's
in these rooms.
Danny's on Team Norwood.
Yeah, a friend of mine just gave me this hat, and anytime I get a free hat, it's going on top of my head.
I prefer the type of caps that you guys are wearing rather than the really stiff caps that don't form to your head. I prefer a cap that forms to your head like what you are both wearing.
Kind of like the trucker hats. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, right.
That are very trendy right now. I have a couple of those because I want to be hip. I want to be
hip and happening.
Hip and happening here. And I try to like those hats, but I get what you're saying. I just find myself like, this does not feel right, like on my head whatsoever.
Yeah. Saw a movie last night.
What'd you watch?
The new Kevin Costner. I went to the movies. Does anybody do that anymore?
I heard it does happen still.
Yeah, I went.
Every once in a while, yeah.
American Saga. It was 3 hours. It was part one. And I'm not really sure what I saw coming out of it for 3 hours.
Part one for 3 hours?
Yeah, so it's going to entice me, though, to go see part two. Laid the groundwork, but I'm still trying to figure out what I actually watched.
It's a Western story?
Yes.
Part two has been postponed in theaters because
the first part one was so bad?
Well, yeah, a lot of people are giving similar reviews to what Danny said, and so therefore part two is being pushed back because they filmed them both back to back, and they were going to release part two in like a couple months. I think like 6 months, and I think they're going to push it back because the reaction to part one has been. A lot of people are walking out confused by like you. Yeah, and that's not a good reaction.
That is no.
So
not good.
Was the plot hard to follow, or was it just more frustrating that you thought there would be an ending to this, and then you found out there was a second part?
Oh, no, I knew there was a part two. I just figured it would have some type of wrapping up of part one leading into part two.
Be nice.
And they've got my money for part two coming up. I got to see how it ends.
On this Friday Eve, the Cardinals have the day off after being swept by the Royals. The Royals with cheese, which was on the rundown earlier. I don't know where it went. But the Royals with cheese did take out the Brooms yesterday against the Redbirds. A 6-4 victory in the day game in game one, and then last night an 8-5 Royals victory. Cardinals had a 3-0 lead, and then Andre Palante gets tagged for 4 earned runs late in his 6 1/3. Roycroft got knocked around a little bit, and the Cardinals fell by a score of 6-4. By the way, Goldie hit a home run in that game. And then in the nightcap, Gordon Graceffo, 3 1/3 innings, 3 earned runs, no walks. He struck out 2 and allowed a home run. And then Liberatore came on after him, and he got roughed up a little bit. I guess they had a plan for Gordon Graceffo. Once he ran into any sort of adversity at all, they were going to get him out of that game.
Especially with the off day today.
Yeah.
You could do that. I'm coming out of the games last night with a little concern about Matthew Liberatore. Velocity was down, wasn't as sharp with the breaking stuff. The home run that was hit by Salvador Perez is still going. It's one of the longest home runs ever at Busch Stadium, but it was a 90-mile-an-hour pitch. So either that's a hard changeup, which isn't good, or a lack of a fastball on a fastball with miles per hour. That was a little concerning. His stuff was way down in terms of velocity.
It was really an uncharacteristically bad game for the bullpen, which they're allowed to have. But between the two games, the Cardinals bullpen allowed 7 runs over 8 1/3 innings. And as you mentioned, not a great day for Matthew Liberatore. I was interested in Gordon Graceffo. What did you guys think about the quick hook with him? What was it, just 3 1/3 innings that he was able to go out there?
And they didn't let him, he wasn't in serious trouble, but they didn't let him get into a situation where things could spiral down. I guess they felt like, okay, we got our 10 outs out of him. Let's move on to the next guy with confidence that Liberatore would be able to be the piggyback and give them another 2 1/3 or whatever he was going to give them. Just didn't happen the way they expected it to. With Libby, he only gives them an inning in 2 rather than 2.1.
Yeah, and with both starters, I was kind of like, I mean, it's a number 5 starter. It's a spot starter, and kind of what you expect. You would hope for it to be a little bit better. I am shocked that they were swept in a doubleheader, especially at home. It just doesn't happen in baseball, but baseball is weird, and so you saw the sweep. And the one thing, too, I noticed, and I made note of it, was that in Game 1, you mentioned it, Randy, it was Goldschmidt hitting a home run, which was good to see because his first 3 at-bats, he looked lost. Yeah. But Arenado and Goldie hitting a home run in the same game. You want to see them win those games? That's the first time that's happened in 2024. First time that Goldie and Arenado have homered in the same game. And the first time since 2014, the Royals scored at least 6 runs in back-to-back games against the Cardinals. So any way you want to look at it, they were flat out beat in both games. It's just one of those nights.
You know, the last time that Arenado and Goldie both homered in the same game was July 24th of last year. When I saw that last night, I was like, there's no way that it's been that long that they both homered in the same game. You just figured that it had to have happened since then, but it didn't. July 24th of last year, the last time that's happened.
And Michael Wacha in Game 2 was really good. I thought he was tremendous for the Royals. He's got that changeup going, and going into the start last night, his slider had been a new pitch that he kind of developed over the last 8 to 10 games. It's been a different grip with the baseball that he's used to complement the changeup, but that looked like the old Michael Wacha with that changeup, and this time he was doing it against the Cardinals.
And tomorrow, Sonny Gray will be on the mound against the Cubs, the opener of a 4-game series. And because of the performances the Cardinals turned in earlier in the season, the split against Colorado, losing the series to the White Sox, a couple of other lesser teams that knocked them off that shouldn't have, every game is going to count. This is going to be a tight race for the Cardinals coming down the stretch. And getting swept by the Royals is something that you can look back on and say, man, that week after the 4th of July, we had that doubleheader against the Royals and got swept. We should have won one of those. If you miss the playoffs by a game, in addition to those losses to horrible teams, you might look at something like that and say, man, you can't get swept in a doubleheader at home.
Flip side, you'd say, too, though, that you took a series against Baltimore and swept them. You had a couple of series where you won 2 out of 3. It's got a way of evening out. It just wasn't a good night at the ballpark, and they were flat out beat. I keep saying that, but they were just beating the 2 games.
Now, I know we talked about Matthew Liberatore, but have you started to see some of the wear with Andrew Kittredge? Because obviously he's been used a lot, gave up that home run in the 9th. Are you starting to see some recent struggles from him and some wear just because of the overusage?
Well, this is the most he's thrown in 2 years, and that's something you have to keep in mind. I think it was around 25, 30 innings, in the last year and a half. And so that's something that I would agree with you, is that you have to keep a careful eye on that, and you have to have somebody else step up. And that's where I go with the trade deadline. I think if you look at like the Palante start, he's going to give you the 5. He might give you 6. But then who else is there to bridge the gap to get to those guys, and then also the wear and tear that they've used in the first half to get them to this point. And that's why I'd love to see him go get a bullpen arm or 2 just to kind of be a refresher for what they have down there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a need. And to both of your point on Kittredge, in the last 2 years combined, 31 2/3 innings. This year, in half a season, he's got 41 innings already.
Wow.
He's thrown 10 more innings this season than he has in the last 2 combined.
80-plus innings coming out of the bullpen. That's a lot.
Yeah.
If you look at what the numbers would project to be. So, yeah, that's a lot. And what are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at Mike Marshall pitching in 106 games.
Isn't it crazy, though?
Before.
It's just a different era.
It is.
It is. It's just different.
And then he threw in more than 100 the year after that.
And guys would go back to back to back to back to back. And you'd see him all the time. But, I am a little concerned about the wear and tear right now with him.
But yes,
Can I jump back to one thing? When we were doing the lineup game yesterday, the one thing that threw us off was the question of who was going to play catcher and who was going to play center field. I did think, going back to it, that your point about why it made sense for Pages to be off in the first game and on in the second game because of his relationship with, conceivably, with Graceffo. That did seem kind of like a weird move in retrospect, looking at the lineup without Pages there for Graceffo in the second game. It just seemed like an odd move overall in retrospect to not go with what you said, Siani at center field in the first game, and then Pages behind the plate in the second.
It made sense. I could see both ways, too. I could say, I want my veteran behind there with a young pitcher. And I think that's probably the direction that they went. But, yeah, it makes sense on both ends of it.
And they might have felt like they wanted to get that first game because Waka was going in the second game. And Waka's really good.
Yep.
And and everything was playing out with the 3-0 lead. But I wonder if the staff, when they had their pregame meeting, thought, okay, let's get this first one, and then we'll worry about the second one later. But let's just knock out a win here early.
Yeah.
It was basically a bullpen game, the second game. And so maybe that's part of it, too, because Wilson Contreras does already have that relationship, too, with Matthew Liberatore and obviously the other guys in the bullpen. So that's the other way to look at it.
Basketball last night, the USA Olympic basketball team played their first exhibition game, knocked off Canada 86-72. It looked kind of ugly in the first quarter.
Boy, did it ever.
Yeah, missed their first 6 shots, and they just weren't scoring. I think they were on pace for 56 points after the first quarter, but then they turned it on, and they were absolutely spectacular. An unbelievable alley-oop from Steph Curry to LeBron James. Anthony Edwards led the scoring with 13. Street clothes with a double-double. He suited up, and the USA rolls. And by the way, street clothes, Anthony Davis said, hey, if we play defense like this, we will be unbeatable.
There's a lot of star power on this team. As you said, it didn't look great early on, but then it turned out just as expected. It's just an exhibition game, a little tune-up for him. I am still trying to figure out the Kawhi Leonard news from yesterday, where he was a part of the team, and then now he's not part of the team. What in the world is going on there?
Grant Hill had a press conference before the game last night, and he said, hey, essentially, he said, this is my decision. Apparently, when Leonard showed up, he was limping. And even though he was practicing, he clearly wasn't 100%. And so I'm sure he goes to Ty Lue and says, hey, what do we want to do with your guy? And I'm sure they came to the agreement without Kawhi agreeing that, hey, we can't have an injured player playing for the U.S. Olympic team when he hadn't even started his new $3-year, $150 million contract with the Clippers. And Derek White replaces him right away, and you have a really good player and a really good defender that you're able to replace Kawhi Leonard with.
I wonder if you're a casual basketball fan out there, if this interests you to watch. It does for me. I'm a casual NBA fan. Mm-hmm. I tune in. I know enough to be dangerous, I guess. But I find I'm enthralled watching this team play. To see this collection of talent together, it is so much fun to watch.
And we didn't see Kevin Durant last night.
Right.
But it's the last time we'll see an Olympic team with LeBron and Steph and Durant.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Hill was on last night at halftime and into the second half. And he said the way they started the roster was with LeBron and Durant and Steph. He said, obviously, if those guys want to play, we wanted them on the team. So they had their choice. And that's how the roster was started. You give those guys a choice. Say, hey, you want to play? And if they say yes, they're on the team.
Generational trio there that you have. And then you have the young stars that are coming up, too. It's just exciting to see Jason Tatum as a part of this because everybody here in St. Louis knows that this was always a huge dream. He's wearing number 10 to honor Kobe Bryant, who, of course, he absolutely adored Kobe Bryant. So it's very special to see Jason Tatum a part of this.
And the USA wins over Canada 86-72 last night. It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis with Matthew and Brooke and Danny. I'm Randy. Coming up next, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646 for sick of it. 314-399 Yo-ho!
Yo-ho!
There we go. That's an early one from Danny Mac on 101 ESPN. Time for Sick of It here on 101 ESPN. Matthew, Brooke, Dan, and Randy. We want your text 314-399-9646. 314-399. Yo-ho! Guys, I got to tell you what I'm sick of is having 493 emails in my email box, and I've already cleared out like 100. And I did it last weekend. I cleared out my email box last weekend, and now I've got 493 emails in my email box. I am sick of spam email.
Is this your work and personal?
No, it's just work.
So do you get a lot of coupons, or is this just people constantly emailing you?
This is like PR people that I will throw you an example, okay? Number one, I have no idea why I get Zillow emails. on
what is Zillow?
That's homes.
That's the homes.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
I will. I think I read one to you yesterday. Here's one. Genius Bank, the digital banking division of SMBC Manubank and a member of the SMBC Group, has unveiled findings of a new survey, and they want us to interview on a sports show somebody about the survey that they've unveiled, the mind-money connection. Well, I don't care about that, and I have no idea why I get these emails from all of these. I get a morning show in Jackson, Mississippi. Might want to talk about something like that. A sports show in St. Louis doesn't want to talk about stuff like that. So why do these people waste their time sending me those emails?
Oh, I remember getting a lot of those PR emails. I get some every once in a while, but I'm sure with as long as you've been doing this, you get a ton. And you see some of them and you're like, what in the world? Why would we want to talk about this?
Yes.
But it's just kind of crazy PR stories that they try to push. So I understand that. I spent this past weekend deleting emails. It felt like half a day just trying to clear out emails in my personal.
That's what I'm sick of.
Yes, I get that. All right. Well, this is what I am sick of, guys. Tipping culture can go a little bit too crazy, in my opinion. So, love but shame. I was over this past weekend, as you guys know, to see Journey and, of course, Def Leppard. Mm-hmm. And they have that little self-checkout kiosk area. And where you weigh it yourself, you do it yourself, right?
Super
but
convenient.
then there is a tipping portion there. And I'm like, who am I tipping? I tip myself? Like, do I get to tip myself in this situation? And I'm not saying anything against butt shame. I completely understand. It's not just that situation. Have you guys had that happen before where it's something where you're doing it completely yourself, basically? You're taking care of yourself, and then the tipping option comes up, and you're like, what would I be tipping here?
Right, yeah.
I like it. I do like the tipping option. I do.
But in that situation, who are you tipping?
I don't care. I'm assuming it goes into a pool for the workers. Uh-huh. So if I give them 10% on something, I'm okay with it. It's a couple bucks. I'm throwing them something, whatever.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, if I know that, then yeah, 100%.
I tip a worker, but if the worker's me, I don't want to. I agree with that. Like, when I order on an app or something, I always tip. People, like, if you order from Breadco, that person that's putting your food into the bag and stuff and getting it all ready for you, they're working and they deserve a tip. It's kind of like being a server. So I'm totally on board with that.
All right. This is what I'm sick of. I'm sick of all the NFL shows, the debate shows. It's specifically with the NFL. Who's the best wide receiver? Who are the top 5? Here's the top 5 QBs. Should they pay Dak? I don't care anymore. I'm sick of it. I just want to get the season going. Stop with all this stuff. It's nonsense. Let's move on. It's time to move on. Get ready for training camp. Let's go. Let me find out about training camp, and I'm moving on.
I want to know everything. I want to know every single detail.
I don't care.
I'm ready. Ready. But I don't need to hear Evan Cohen on the morning show. All due respect. With his top 5 receivers, that does not include Tyreek Hill, and he says that the tight end is the most valuable position in football. So he had like 2 or 3 tight ends on his list of top 5 receivers, and he was roundly criticized for it yesterday. And so today he was complaining that he went out on several radio shows, and people were talking to him about having tight ends on his list. And so I texted our friend Michelle Smallman, and I said that Evan, who's a Patriot fan, I said, tell that Patriot tight end Aaron Hernandez fan, Evan, to just hang in there with his list.
Oh, well, here's the thing, is that it's tough because I think that we all also get it in this business is sometimes you have to manufacture some things to talk about. But I don't know. I never get tired of, especially with fantasy football, maybe doing a little bit of pre-scouting. I know
now,
that
fantasy football, I'm in.
There you go. Okay,
So I'm in on that.
I found a way to get you in on this.
But here's the thing. To your point, Daniel.
What's wrong with that?
We're 2 weeks
Rocky?
away from training camp and nothing has changed.
That's my point.
Yeah, I got that. That's.
No, I want to know every.
Being like, I don't want to hear your top 5 wide receivers list. I want to hear your top 25 draftable wide receivers list.
Now you're talking.
That's an
There you go.
insane take, in my opinion.
I don't want to hear a top 5 receivers list that doesn't include Tyreek Hill.
That's a good point.
Isn't he the third highest paid wide receiver right now?
And he's the best guy.
$30 million, I think. The cheetah.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch.
He's great.
Receiver, by the way, is on Netflix. I'm going to watch that this weekend.
Good. By the way, another receiver that should be, I don't know if he was on any list yesterday, is Jamar Chase.
Yes.
Jamar Chase is healthy. He's uncoverable. He's awesome.
Now, what about paying a tight end half of what you have to pay a wide receiver, which is generally speaking?
Depends on the guy. Like, you aren't going to pay Michael O'Omenawinui or Brandon Manumaleuna, the guys, the way that Martz used the tight end. Thank you, Matthew. You aren't going to use those guys the way that Travis Kelce gets used or some of the good pass-catching tight ends. Now, for me, a guy like Kelce should be paid like a receiver because he's catching the ball. But if the other guy's an H-back, then no. It depends on the guy.
For sure. Yeah, it depends on how he's used in the scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what organization he's like. If a guy's with Andy Reid, I'm going to pay him.
Right.
For sure.
Would you like better, O'Omenawinui or Manumaleuna?
I always like people who can actually pronounce, as most people would call him, Illini Michael O'Omenawanui's actual last name. Brandon Manumaleuna was, you could roll with his, like Pisatini Samoa. That one just kind of, it ran with it as you kind of got it. But like O'Omenawinui was tricky.
The guy who auditioned for the fast lane prior to Brad Thompson coming in and getting the job in the first 15 minutes was indeed Pisatini Samoa.
Oh, God.
Man, that would have been tough to pronounce.
Yeah. I love Pisatini Samoa. He was the
best. Good guy. Really good guy.
To hell with the NFL. I'm sick of not having Blues hockey to watch right now.
Blues hockey. Oh, yeah, we didn't even mention that they got Ryan Suter yesterday, 39 years old. That apparently was quite reticent about playing the right side. So figure the Blues have another lefty defenseman. That gives us 6 of them if we are the Blues. And that tells me that if we have 6 lefty defensemen, that the herd needs to be culled.
Trade coming. I would think.
I would think so.
I think it's safe to assume somebody won't be here, but you have, let me figure this out. Krug, Letty, Perunovich, Joseph, Tucker, and Suter.
Yeah.
You know what they always say, right, Randy? If you have 6 left shot defensemen, you don't have 3.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so you sign Perunovich again, and Perunovich and Krug are redundant, right? Same guy. So I would have to think that one of those probably is not going to be on the team. And you got to keep Olivier just because of the name on the team. What's his first name?
Just because of the name.
Yeah, Olivier Joseph.
Pierre Olivier.
So Pierre Olivier Joseph Podge.
And MJ.
Oh, yeah, MJ. We got MJ on our team. We're good.
Yeah, you can't forget about that. I'm sick of Randy's good mornings.
Oh, man. I'm crushed.
Why?
This is like an Uncle Randy thing.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Keep doing it.
Yeah.
If only because it makes that guy mad, and that makes me
Who doesn't
laugh.
enjoy that?
Brightens my morning.
That person.
Yeah. Dan. Dan looked over. I said,
Dan
who doesn't enjoy
loves
that? Dan looks over.
I was a little upset today, Brooke, because when I look at Randy, it's supposed to stop, and I did. Woo, I did it really fast.
I hadn't even started.
That's the whole point.
I'm sick of it. Why does the media keep shoving Chiefs football down our throats?
Because they're the Super Bowl champions and they're really good. Trust me, wherever you go in America, the Chiefs are being shoved down your throats because they are the Super Bowl champions. They're the most prolific team. Their tight end is dating the globe's most notable and most recognizable person. Trust me, wherever you go in America, the Chiefs are being shoved down your throats.
Yeah, you can't escape it. And I think that's true for anybody who's been able to build a dynasty. I mean, it's the same thing with the Patriots. It was annoying, but that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, that's if you're good. Somebody was complaining about all the Chiefs games on TV last year here in St. Louis. 14 of the 17 Chiefs games were either in prime time or in the 3:25 window. Or there was one morning game overseas.
Yeah. That was a game against Miami.
Yeah, the Chiefs are that good that it doesn't matter in the country where you are, you're going to see a lot of them. And oh, by the way, when you were at Rams games back in the day, CBS was showing a Chiefs game in St. Louis.
Yep.
They've always been on here, even when they weren't that good.
God, I hate blackouts. God, so much. You guys know what I'm sick of? People not knowing how to get on the highway and just to drive in general, specifically on the on-ramp speed. People, it's how you merge properly. Speed up. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, you do have to speed up to merge. Don't stop on the highway.
It sometimes makes me really nervous. Merging, for whatever reason, it's like people get very possessive of the lane that they're in, and they don't want to allow you to merge. So there's not a perfect science, but just making sure that, well, I know Rockio has his system.
It's funny because we're going to talk about this, and some idiot's going to text in and be like, well, it's not illegal for me to drive 50 on the highway. Because like, well, it's only the speed limit. That doesn't mean you have to drive that speed at the lowest. It's like, okay, fine, sure, you can stop the flow of traffic and screw everybody else up.
Merge.
That's fine.
That's how I feel about it. Just let people merge.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
That is Sick of It here on 101 ESPN. By the way, Michelle was giving credit to Pat, the producer, today for Over It. And Michelle came up with Sick of It, and Over It is basically the same segment. So I'm saying that Pat, the producer, did not come up with it.
You got to come up with a lot of things to be sick of. Yeah, you sound like you're a miserable human being. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, we may or may not speak to our friend Greg Amsinger of MLB Network. Matthew's going to call him, maybe wake him up. We're going to find out next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rockio with your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals get swept in the doubleheader yesterday, losing 6-4 in Game 1 and then 8-5 in Game 2 in a semi-bullpen start for Game 2. Gordon Graceffo goes 3 1/3 innings pitched, allows 3 earned runs, gets 2 strikeouts, and allows a home run. Matthew Liberatore piggybacked 1 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs as well, and a home run there. Also in exhibition international basketball yesterday, it was the USA over Canada, 86-72 to the great chagrin of Dylan Brooks. That is your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Brooke, Dan, and Randy, the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Next Tuesday at 1 o'clock St. Louis time on MLB Network, the Major League Baseball red carpet show prior to the All-Star game will occur. And one of my favorite things about the red carpet show is seeing the attire of one Greg Amsinger. And he's going to tell us the story about how he finds out about his attire. That's right. He doesn't pick it out. And he joins us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Greg, good morning. I want to know, first of all, do you have your box?
So here's the deal. I'm going to Texas, okay? I got to feel the vibe of the American cowboy. Mm-hmm. So my guy can't help me with that.
Oh.
I can actually help me with that better than my guy in Montclair, New Jersey can help me with that. He's very bougie, right? I'm not looking bougie. I'm looking for cowboy boots, right? I'm looking for a big, huge belt buckle, right? Like I'm looking in areas he's not comfortable with. So the story that you're alluding to is I would just grab a bag from my guy and he would tell me not to open it. I'd get to the hotel room in the morning of the red carpet show. I would open up this very male risque outfit that I would have to uncomfortably place on my body and then showcase on national TV. I'm not doing that this year. I'm going to try it alone. I'm going to try to walk down these streets with Greg Amsinger fashion. No one else but Greg. So I'm going to my expansive walk-through closet, and I am looking at all of my cowboy boots that I own. That's a lie. I don't own any cowboy boots. I just had to go buy cowboy boots. So for the first time, own cowboy boots, and I'll be ready to rock and show them off with my own personal fashion taste on the red carpet.
Okay, tough question here. Magnificent hair or cowboy hat?
See, that's the thing. I told Harold Reynolds, look, one of the blessings of being completely cue ball bald that you are, Harold, now, like you can't grow any hair on your head, is if one of us has to wear a cowboy hat, it needs to be you. I wore a backwards Mariners cap last year in honor of Ken Griffey Jr., right? We wouldn't be in Seattle for the All-Star game if it wasn't for the kids saving baseball in that city. I'm not covering my hair up 2 years in a row. Like, we had to have a sit-down heart-to-heart, and I keep asking him, are you wearing a cowboy hat? And he's like, I'm going to do it. I go, have you bought it yet? He's like, no, I haven't bought it yet. I'm like, bro, if you don't wear a cowboy hat, they're going to place a cowboy hat on my head. And one of us has to wear a cowboy hat for the show. So it is a very sensitive topic right now. Who's wearing a cowboy hat, me or Harold?
You can head on. Are you going on Sunday? Going down?
Am I going? I'm going to be live in the draft on Sunday.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you'll be there. What you need to do is head over to the Stockyards in Fort Worth. You will find a genuine, beautiful cowboy hat over there.
Randy, I don't want to own a cowboy hat.
No, but get it for Harold. Just get one for Harold. You make a lot of money.
You want me to buy? First and foremost, I didn't know how expensive cowboy boots.
Oh, man. It's unbelievable.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I never thought an expense report. I don't think I've ever done it in my 16 years at MLB Network. I am filling out an expense report for cowboy boots. You kidding me?
Greg, you have to get the cowboy hat first. I just have to say that. You have to get the cowboy hat because if you're going all in with the boots and then the belt and the full ensemble, it needs to be completed with the cherry on top, which is, of course, the cowboy hat.
Yeah, but see, Brooke, the way I look at it is this. If Tim McGraw had great hair, I don't think he'd be wearing a cowboy hat as much. You know, like
Kenny Chesney wears a cowboy hat a lot.
Yeah. Garth Brooks wearing a cowboy hat. Like, none of these guys got great hair. So I don't understand why I have to follow the same game plan as a bunch of bald guys. I like their game plan. It is good. It is good for them. But look, as long as I'm standing next to a cowboy hat and that is on the head of Harold Reynolds,
you're good.
I'm good.
There you go. Well, of course, we got to get into some Cardinals talk. There's a lot of talk, actually, in national media leading to the trade deadline of the Cardinals adding a right-handed bat. Do you see that happening?
At the moment, I don't. And we've talked about this within the walls of MLB Network. I just think that the lineup is picking up at a rate that the Cardinals believe in. And with Contreras primarily DHing right now, and still the terrific on base, and he's really still fresh off coming off the disabled list with a hand-wrist injury. That's usually a timing thing. You got to believe that he's going to get clicking. It looks like Paul Goldschmidt's coming out of it. Nolan Arenado's last 2 weeks has been inspiring. I don't see that being towards the top of the wish list at the trade deadline for the St. Louis Cardinals, no.
What's the national narrative on Jordan Walker right now? Is he still considered like the number 1 or number 2 prospect in baseball, or do teams or organizations kind of look at him and say, we're not seeing what the Cardinals are seeing either, and not that they're going to stay away, but not considered maybe one of the top prospects in the game?
I'm going to be honest with you. The name Jordan Walker is extremely polarizing at MLB Network. Our analysts, our former players, are adamant that the Cardinals screwed him up, messed him up. They can't stand the way the Jordan Walker saga has played out, all the way back to when he was sent down because they wanted to launch the ball in the air more. Our baseball purists, the guys that broke into the league in the 80s and played long careers successfully hitting baseballs, they hated that approach. Finally, you have this large athlete who is a hit-for-average guy. And we saw that work out fine for Frank Thomas back in the day, Jermaine Dye back in the day, Matt Holliday, for crying out loud, back in the day, large, physical right-handed bats that weren't necessarily dead pull trying to hit homers every AB. So they couldn't stand the mental approach that they wanted Jordan Walker to have at the plate, and they think it messed him up, and it screwed up his evolution as a hitter. So from all of the guys I've talked to, they would love to see Jordan Walker in a different organization. They would love to see this talent get an opportunity somewhere else. And I teeter-totter back and forth thinking that the Cardinals are still the organization that will pull the best out of him. But the longer he stays in the minor leagues and the longer they stunt his growth, I'm starting to lean towards my pals at MLB Network regarding Jordan Walker's future in St. Louis.
And obviously development is an issue here, right? And Greg, we look back at the Pobo, John Mozeliak, comparing Jordan Walker to Albert Pujols and Oscar Taveras. 5 years before that, in 2019, Oscar Taveras and Albert Pujols were the comps for one Dylan Carlson, who obviously has suffered a lot of injuries, but the Cardinals haven't gotten the most out of him. I think it's fair to question the Cardinals' ability to develop talent, don't you?
Well, I think there are two layers to development that people overlook, and minor league development is one aspect of it. That is the ultimate lab. But then there's major league development, and it's the staff on the major league team that has to continue to help grow these young players. Victor Scott, red hot. Oh, my goodness, what a minor league season. Oh, my goodness, spring training, gangbusters. Here he is in the big leagues, and I know it's harder, but it just didn't work out. And when that falls in line with the other young players you're talking about, now, Ivan Herrera looked very comfortable as a major leaguer. Mm-hmm. He really did. So it's not like all of these young players are struggling. Alec Burleson took him a bit, but he has figured it out, and wow, does he look like a budding star. So it's not like they're failing time and time again. But the big league coaching staff has to understand that the grind of Major League Baseball is different than any other level. And you see clubs thrive in this department with Major League growth for their young players, and others that struggle. And for a very long time, you mentioned all the young Cardinal players that flourished. That was a feather in the cap for the Cardinals organization. Right now, if you're going to give them a grade, I don't think I'd give them an F, but I don't think I'd give them an A or a B either. In the big league evolution of players, from the farm system. The way they adjust to the big leagues seems to be a struggle right now in St. Louis.
Greg, I don't know if you've talked to a lot of people about this. I would assume you have. How much of a problem, and I will classify it as a problem, is it when young players are going back to the individualized training and the coach they had when they were 8, 9, 10, or 18, 19 years old, and they don't even listen to their major league coaches? Do you think that's a big problem?
It's the biggest mess in baseball right now, Randy. It is. And I can understand both sides of it. I've heard Harold Reynolds say that Ken Griffey Jr. had to go talk to his dad whenever he'd go through a slump. Everyone was told to leave him alone, and he would go talk to his dad. Okay, I get it. It works for one of the 30 greatest players in the history of baseball. Okay, I get that. But Tim Lincecum won back-to-back Cy Youngs, right? Or 2 Cy Youngs. And his dad was his pitching coach. And when he would struggle, they'd bring his dad into the clubhouse. It annoyed everybody within the San Francisco Giants organization, but they did it for Tim Lincecum. But I get it. Tim Lincecum won 2 Cy Youngs. Like you get treated differently when you reach that level, right? I think the broad stroke, let everybody have Uncle Jim be my personal coach all over Major League Baseball, is an absolute mess. And you've got guys on their own routine, doing their own thing, and that is why we have such a disjointed offensive approach to Major League Baseball games. It doesn't look like teams are trying to manufacture runs, trying to beat the other team offensively. It's a bunch of guys trying to get the best exit velo launch angle in an AB, and that way they can walk home, call whoever their personal coach is, and talk about why they looked good at the plate, regardless if he stranded the runner at third base with 1 out in the 8th inning. It's not about the team. They're not drowning in the team day to day. It's a bunch of individual guys talking to their individual coach. I don't know how you fix it, but I really think this mess started when they allowed iPads in the dugouts. If there's one thing I could change about Major League Baseball right now, take every ounce of technology out of the baseball game. I don't want to see a hitter go down into the dugout, grind through the high five after he hits a home run. Like he really, all right, guys, get this over with. So he can grab his iPad and check himself out hitting a bomb. It is the weirdest thing ever. Just like the shift was just aesthetically ugly to the game, to watch everyone stand on one side of the field, it looked ugly to the most beautiful sport in the game, in the world. To watch these guys run down and grab an iPad like a 4-year-old at Chili's because their parents wanted to be quiet so they can get a dinner in is the most ridiculous and ugly thing I see in a game. So I think it all started with that, and now they're just going back to being 12-year-olds again, and they're talking to mom and dad and Uncle Phil about how to get their swing right. So to me, Randy, you hit a great point that I love talking about. I would love to eliminate these personalized coaches in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people would 100% agree with you. It's interesting because we have some sound later on that we're going to discuss with Joe Madden where he talks about this exact thing. I don't know if you saw that interview that he did on Foul Territory, but he discussed that about how things are too individualized and the team aspect and even the identity of teams and franchises are lost now when you used to see that in the past. He also mentioned maybe bringing back some former managers and coaches who have been around the game for so long that could also help with teams getting back to those identities.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, you got a lot of assistant coaches, Brooke, that are shoving the iPad in the player's face because that's what they bring to the party. Their knowledge of advanced metrics is what they're trying to feed these players and remind them why they're relevant, why they're wearing a big league uniform, even though they never played in the major leagues. So since that's who we have in the dugouts, that's what they're going to flex. That's their expertise. So you're going to see more and more and more of it. To have, a great hitting coach sitting in the dugout, let's pretend Matt Holliday is the hitting coach of the St. Louis Cardinals. And Matt Holliday's life experience is the greatest database that any hitter would want to get any knowledge from. And he doesn't need an iPad to remember what it was like facing Roger Clemens or facing Pedro Martinez or facing a nasty lefty like Randy Johnson. He can sit there with you and talk about what it's like to hit a ball in the screws 3 straight ABs, but it's snagged, it's caught, and now you're 0 for 3 and you're bummed out. He's the guy that can kind of walk you through that. Like players, they understand how hard the game is at a level we'll never comprehend. So there is a bit of therapist that needs to be injected into a dugout. And guys that never played at the highest level can't necessarily see eye to eye with the life experiences of these guys. To listen to Sean Casey talk about how emotionally drained he was after his first full season in the major leagues, how all he wanted to do was sleep for a week straight because every day he woke up trying to grind and survive and figure out how to get a hit. And every at-bat and every pitch, and it all mattered. To think about these guys doing this, we don't recognize it from a million miles away as fans watching Major League Baseball games. But they need people to put their hand on their shoulder and go, yo, I understand what it's like right now. I'm going to take you back. 1997, I was over 33. I thought this thought, and man, did it just come out of, you're this close. You're this close. You're right there. That stuff matters. And it's been removed from dugouts, and I think it needs to be put back in. I agree with Joe Madden wholeheartedly.
Do you think, Greg, because of last year and the early start of this season for the Cardinals, that they're flying under the radar a little bit in terms of just how well they have played, meaning that the national perspective of this has not really picked up? And is this team for real?
I said on MLB Network that there are two teams that really need to be worried after the All-Star break, and that's the Seattle Mariners. I think the Astros are coming. They're going to take the division. And the Milwaukee Brewers, that the Cardinals are coming. They're going to take the division. And I stand by both of those statements. I had Cliff Floyd agree with me. He thinks the St. Louis Cardinals will run down the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers just don't have enough depth. While Christian Yelich looks 100% healthy, the rest of that team has a lot of inexperience, and he doesn't see the pitching depth that the Cardinals have. And I agree with him. And there are some guys that still push away. Harold Reynolds does not believe the Cardinals are going to run down the Milwaukee Brewers. And right now it's teeter-tottering. The Astros have more momentum as a second-place team that will eventually catch the first-place squad in the Mariners because they just can't score. Their lineup's terrible. They're breaking records in strikeouts per game. It's ridiculous. They need to trade for 3 bats, not just 1. So everyone's on board with that. But it's not a consensus yet that what I'm saying on MLB Network night in, night out, the Cardinals are coming, and it's inevitable. I don't see, unless the Brewers do something dramatic and they acquire someone in the likes of Corbin Burns, who they traded away, which is the irony of this whole thing. If Corbin Burns was with the Milwaukee Brewers right now, I don't think I would say the Cardinals will run down the Brewers. But because he's not there and they never replaced him, I think the Cardinals are going to run down the Milwaukee Brewers. So I tell you, Dan, it's groundswell. It's going to grow. The more and more this team continues to take 2 out of 3. I mean, they're a machine right now. I mean, the Royals have been a pain. I get it. But every series they're winning. To me, this is a club that feels it, knows it, and they're on their way. The emergence of Alec Burleson as the guy in the lineup, that's what they needed. They can rally around the guy, and everyone's running to the bat rack. So I like the way the Cardinals are playing. I think it's inevitable, and it's going to grow nationally. You're going to hear more and more people talking about how the Cardinals are coming, and the Brewers need to be worried.
There's a thing in radio and TV called the clock that we're supposed to adhere to. I'm going to blow it out here because, Greg, you need to tell us who the Cardinals are taking in the first round of the draft.
Oh, my gosh. I would love to see them take. There's a kid that might be around that I think is the most unique talent on the mound I've ever seen. And Durangelo Sanger is his name. He pitches for Mississippi State. He throws left-handed and right-handed. He throws 95 left-handed. He throws 99 right-handed. I've seen this kid since he was 17 years old. He'll be in play. He's a first-round talent. He is a weapon. And I believe a team that has an opportunity to draft a kid who is legit. This isn't that other kid. I forget his name. His last name started with a V, but he threw a soft tosser as a righty. Vendetti, I think was his name, or something like that.
That's
this
right.
kid, Durangelo Sanger, if you look him up at Mississippi State, if the Cardinals can acquire a kid, if they can draft a kid who has this extreme velo from both sides of the plate or both sides of the mound, you cannot pass up on a talent like this. So as a Cardinal fan, I still am. Even though I'm a broadcaster, I still love the Cardinals. I would love to see this kid as a weapon in a bullpen in St. Louis. To me, you cannot pass on a talent you may never see again in a Major League Baseball draft.
Interesting spelling,Cijntge. Durangelo Senja is it pronunciation? Senja.
So,
okay.
Like sane, is Greg Amsinger sane? What is he talking about? Senja, yeah.
And when Venditti was with the Giants, he had a special glove. I watched him pitch in spring training, and they had a special glove because he would switch arms depending on the hitter that was coming up.
That's exactly right. And this kid does the same thing because he has to declare what arm he's going to use during each at-bat. So once he declares and that batter steps into the batter's box, it's on. He can't go back and forth and change the look within the AB. So I just think if you got this extreme velocity, he's a young guy. So if he's doing 94 from the left side, can't we dream on 96 down the line as he gets older and stronger?
Yeah, why not?
I'm sorry. How do you pass on drafting two players in one? A left-handed flamethrower and a right-hander who touches triple digits. I just don't see how anyone passes on that.
Pretty awesome. Greg, you're awesome. Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it. Have a great trip to Texas, and we'll be tuned in for all of the coverage of the draft and the red carpet and everything MLB Network does at the All-Star Game, which is awesome every year.
Yeah, just keep in mind it's my first rodeo with cowboy boots. So don't be overly critical, Randy. Okay, just let me know what you think in a week. All right,
Greg. One thing we know: Randy Karraker could never be critical of Greg Amsinger's fashion. Never.
You're right. All right, Brooke, don't be overly critical, okay, Brooke? Don't be overly critical.
I already told you I need to see the cowboy hat, Greg.
Yeah, okay. In another life, Brooke, I'll try my best. I will try my best.
See you, brother. Take care.
See you guys.
Thanks. Greg Amsinger, MLB Network on 101 ESPN. We've got a very quick Take It or Leave It coming up next on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's Danny Mac on this Thursday. I want to tell you about Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home or refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things. Let's make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He's going to help you every step of the way. If it's a new home you're looking to purchase, he will get you to the closing table fast. And you're asking how fast? How about 10 days? And he'll get you the best interest rate possible. He also has the bagel loan that can help you out too. What is the bagel loan? You hear us talk about it all day on 101 ESPN. Here it is, the bagel loan. If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stewart is your guy. He makes it easy. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give Stewart a call. Call him directly. His personal cell phone, he'll pick up, or text him 314-324-4440. 314-324-4440, or you can Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Dan and Randy, it's time for Tioli on 101 ESPN. Greg Amsinger suggested the Cardinals draft Jurangelo Sainja, a right-handed pitcher and a left-handed pitcher from Mississippi State. Kids, take it or leave it. Of all the Shannonisms of all time, the best one was, I would give my right arm to be ambidextrous.
Oh, man. It's a pretty good one.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
So good. Yeah, I will take that.
I give my right arm to be ambidextrous.
Do you know that there's a website for Shannonisms? I love that website. Have you guys been on there? It's great to just see what pops up. Yeah, you did. You'll never forget any of those.
I wish you people back in St. Louis could see this moon.
Yeah, stuff like that. That's when Bob Gibson told me. I said, how did he get this nickname, the Moon Man? He said, we're taking BP, and he said, I'm shagging balls with Mike Shannon, and he said, you know, big boy, someday they're going to land a guy on the moon. This is Bob Gibson telling me this story. And he says, what are you talking about? He said, a few years later, they landed a guy on the moon. He said, so that's how you get the Moon Man. And that was Mike Shannon.
I love that. Sack of onions is another one of my favorites.
Sack of onions.
Yes.
There was also a guy that got tasered, and he said he was lasered.
Same guy.
Yes.
Yeah, in Philly.
Yep.
We're gonna find that. We've got that somewhere.
Yes, I love the Shannonisms. All right, we'll take it or leave it, guys. Torrey Krug will be on the move this summer.
I'll take it. There was one.
Are you thinking of another one?
Yeah. So somebody's birthday. Nothing like a piece of birthday cake and a cold Budweiser. Okay, Torrey Krug is on the. I will take it. I will say that the signing of Ryan Suter tells me that they've got something going.
They have to.
Krug, yeah,
you got too many guys. You got left-handed shots are Krug, Letty, Perunovich, Joseph, Tucker, and Suter. Yeah. Now, Krug does have a full no trade. Letty has a full no trade, so it'll be interesting to see if they try to invoke that, or he invokes that as they move forward.
Yeah.
So
it's just interesting. He's 39 years old.
Yeah, Suter is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you could be spending a lot of time in the press box too. I mean, it doesn't mean he's going to play every single game.
No, but yeah, I didn't know if they were taking the Cardinals approach. They saw that worked out for the Cardinals.
Yeah, maybe so.
Exactly.
All right, this was reported yesterday that the NBA has finished up contracts with ESPN, NBC, and Amazon as broadcast partners. 11-season deal worth about $76 billion. So take it or leave it. Did your jaw drop when you saw $76 billion?
Yeah, I'll take it.
I will take that.
I never thought it'd be that high. And that's why you can pay some of these guys, $314 million for Tatum. Doesn't seem like that big a deal when your TV contract is $76 billion.
Projected that within 5 years, Anthony Edwards will be making $80 million a year.
It's incredible. How far away are we from a $1 billion player?
Not far, I don't think.
No.
Like a $100 million NFL quarterback. Yep. That's not that far either.
And by the way, I don't know if they want to, but The Athletic reports that TNT does have the right to match the secondary offers, the NBC or Amazon Prime offers.
Yep. Wow. Could happen. I don't want to see TNT go away. If you love the NBA and you watch the NBA, their pregame show is and halftime is as good as it gets.
Take it or leave it. If TNT does indeed match, Barkley stays beyond this year.
I would take that and does not retire.
Yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I want to keep that together, too. I agree with you, Dan.
Matthew, we want to get you a text or two?
That laser worked good.
It did.
Woo-wee. I mean, he put a laser on him, man. He went down like a sack of onion.
He did.
It'll take him a little while to get his heart beating. Woo-wee.
That's so good.
Mike was the best.
We're getting so many in now. Can I just do another one real quick? This is another one of my favorites. 314. It's Mother's Day, so to all the mothers out there, happy birthday. That was one of my favorites. Shannon asking what an NFT is. That was so good.
One time, Enos Slaughter was at the game, and Mike had to give them the Heimlich maneuver. Enos Slaughter got a hot dog stuck in his throat, and Mike gave him the Heimlich maneuver and saved him.
Yep.
And the hot dog pops out. Mike walks into the booth and said, I just had to give Slaughter the Alzheimer's maneuver.
So good. Take it or leave it. We need a Mike Shannon movie.
Oh, take it, yeah.
His entire life.
A documentary would be awesome to get some of the stories. Yeah. And Randy, you and I were around him a lot.
Yeah.
He was great to us.
Oh, fantastic.
And we can have fun with the Shannonisms and all that stuff. But in terms of how he treated us, phenomenal.
And teaching young people, especially that hadn't played at that level, baseball.
Yes.
I learned as much baseball from Mike Shannon as I learned from anybody.
I bet I played probably 100 rounds of golf with Mike, and it was some of the most fun I ever had traveling with the team, and just always look forward to that every single morning, getting up at 5 to go play with Mike Shannon, because we were teeing off when it was still dark. Mike didn't sleep, so we were going out at 5 in the morning. That's the way it was.
That's incredible.
Yep.
Even when I came here, and you guys have so many amazing stories, but I was really just shocked about how accessible and how kind he was. Because, not saying that I was surprised he was kind, but usually with somebody of that stature and status, it's harder to get to know them. And I remember I needed a story, and Maurice Drummond, this was when I was over at KMOV, he was like, "Oh, you should just go interview Mike Shannon about this." I was like, "You think I can?" And he was like, "Yeah, here's his number. Give him a call." And I'm like, "Wait, he'll answer?" And he's like, "Yeah, just ask him." So I called, and sure enough, he answered. He's like, "Hey," and I was like, "Can I come and interview you?" He's like, "Oh, sure, yeah. When do you want to come?" And it was just so easy, and it was so nice, and I stuck around and just chatted with him. I was not expecting that whatsoever.
No, Mike was great, and he's missed, man. We got a lot of joy out of having Mike Shannon in our midst for so many years. That's Tioli on 101 ESPN. Coming up, of the Cardinals' top 30 prospects, they don't have many right-handed hitters. So should that change their approach with Jordan Walker? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
Real experience, real success.
In St. Louis, time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. It's interesting, guys. MLB Pipeline just came out with their new top 30 prospects for every team, and so did Baseball America this week. And of the Cardinals' top 30 prospects, according to MLB Pipeline and Baseball America, 0 are right-handed power hitters. Of the top Cardinals 30 prospects, 0 are right-handed power hitters. And you wonder if this should add to the Cardinals' patience regarding Jordan Walker, who, by the way, went 2 for 3 with a 112-mile-an-hour double last night, had a couple of RBIs for Memphis. Here's what Greg Amsinger said moments ago about what he is hearing from his former major league analysts at MLB Network.
I'm going to be honest with you. The name Jordan Walker is extremely polarizing at MLB Network. Our analysts, our former players, are adamant that the Cardinals screwed him up, messed him up. They can't stand the way the Jordan Walker saga has played out. Finally, you have this large athlete who is a hit-for-average guy. And we saw that work out fine for Frank Thomas back in the day, Jermaine Dye back in the day, Matt Holliday, for crying out loud, back in the day, large, physical right-handed bats that weren't necessarily dead pull trying to hit homers every AB. So they couldn't stand the mental approach that they wanted Jordan Walker to have at the plate, and they think it messed him up.
That being said, though, because of the dearth of right-handed power hitting in the Cardinals system, according to MLB Pipeline and Baseball America, should the Cardinals do everything they can to keep Jordan Walker and never trade him?
Yeah, I think that you should try to develop him as much as possible. He is just 22 years old. There's absolutely no way that you should give up on him. I know that we've had those discussions. Is there truly anybody that you would consider a untouchable? And that's hard to say because you could put out any scenario out there like Crochet. Of course, you would like to get him. But at the same time, you can't give up on what you have there with Jordan Walker. I do believe that he belongs in the majors, and he just needs some more time and some more developing. And also, I thought it was interesting the rest of the conversation where this is a bigger issue, not just with the Cardinals organization, but we're seeing in Major League Baseball overall about developing these young players.
Only 22, like you said, and for me, it would have to be such an overwhelming package that I just couldn't say no. I don't think he's on the move. I would not trade him. The one thing that Greg talked about was the mental side, and the concern I have is when you go up and down mentally, that can be taxing, and it does put a lot of question marks as a player between your ears. You know, am I doing this right? Am I doing what they want? But at some point, I always go back to this, and I don't know if you guys agree. It's your career. This is your career, and you can take in all the voices from the major league staff and the minor league staff and your personal hitting coach, but whatever you're comfortable with at some point, if you're not having success, I think you go back to what got you to the major leagues, and you use that and say, look, launch angle isn't working for me. It's going to be like what George Brett and Randy and I were talking about this off the air. Brooke, you were doing a report, but it's what George Brett talked about with launch angle going through the zone. And if that doesn't work for him, hit the ball hard, see ball, hit ball, and see what the results may be.
So, and I 100% agree with you, but what do you do in that situation if you are a young player where you know that the organization says they want this or that from you, so you do have to listen to them if you want to get to the ultimate goal, which is getting back to the majors, but then also still remembering and trying to balance what got you there in the first place?
Well, you take 112 miles per hour off the bat, and I think anybody would like that. You know, I don't care if you have launch angle or not. You're hitting 112 miles per hour off the bat. That's going to find more holes than not. So, I'm kind of at a loss with what's happened with him, but I'm still not giving up on him. I don't like the fact he's gone up and down, but I also realize it's about you either do or you don't. This is Major League Baseball. You got to have production. He was hitting 150 when he was sent down. There haven't been a lot of signs to bring him back up, but I'm still not giving up on him. He's only 22, and at one point he was the number one prospect in baseball, and that's tough to all of a sudden give up on.
It'd be interesting to find out, and we'll see if we can see what the Cardinals think of what he has done with his swing in the couple of months that he's been down there. When you watch last night, if you compare last year's last home run that he hit to the swing last night for the double. Pretty substantial differences in the swing.
What are you seeing?
Number one, McGuire always, remember how Mark would, his right hand would let go of the bat at the end of the swing?
Little Charlie Lau action. Yeah.
Now Walker is keeping both hands on the bat throughout the swing. And there does appear to be a little bit more launch angle, a little bit more loft a little bit more swinging up in the bat.
I go back to what got you to that point that you were a major leaguer. Get back to that. And, we don't like to look at a ton of video, but video is a part of the game, and we're talking about video in-game. Go back after a game. Start comparing where you were that got you to the major leagues. And I think that's something you have to look at. I'm sure he's done that. But right now, mentally, just think about this. You're 22 years old. You've been up and down in the major leagues. You had the pressure of being the number one prospect in the game. That's going to wear on you. And if you're not having great success, and then you're getting people in your ear saying you need to change, I just think that's a lot to put on a 22-year-old kid. And he's had a lot of pressure on him going forward. It's going to be a lot of pressure to get back to the big leagues too.
And that's why I understand the production side of it. But another reason why I would have rather him be in the majors and work through it is because you have so much of that veteran leadership in the clubhouse. They acquired so much veteran leadership. Having a Matt Carpenter, we saw how Matt Carpenter helped Alec Burleson, remember, before he went on this surge that we've seen from him offensively. Having those guys around, a Crawford or anybody in there with a lot of experience could really benefit Jordan Walker, I think.
You know what's interesting? We complained again in the Greg segment. It really bothers me that players go outside the organization to get coached by other people. Not the people that are
many players are doing that.
Right. Jordan Walker's not one of those guys. Jordan Walker is a guy who wants to accept the coaching of the people in the organization. And they're the ones, they brought him through the system. Why didn't they recognize that there was a problem with his swing path as he played at A-ball and Double-A? So he's almost penalized by not going to somebody else.
At some point, though, right now, do you really need him? When you have Burleson doing what he's doing, you got Ciani that's emerged, you got Brendan Donovan in left, you can let him kind of try to figure this thing out in the minor. There's not a pressing issue right now to bring. Would you love to have a right-handed bat? Of course you would, but it's not like you're suffering completely because he's not here. You've been able to have other guys step up.
No, and you're 100% right, and thank goodness you have Contreras back.
Yes.
That's huge. But for next year, I don't know if now, as much as I love Paul Goldschmidt, I don't know if you can sign him for next year.
And Burleson might be at first base.
Right, and you're going to need to have a right-handed bat. You're going to have to have another right-handed bat in there. So you've got a couple of months left to straighten him out. We'll see. That is today's Fresh Take here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, how important is it for you that the USA basketball team win gold at the Olympics? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. In the battle of cross-state rivals, the Royals came out on top yesterday, sweeping the doubleheader. In Game 1, the Cardinals built up an early lead after home runs from Nolan Arenado and Alec Burleson. Andre Palante was solid through 4 innings before running into some trouble in the 5th inning. Paul Goldschmidt hit a home run in the 9th, but the Royals rolled to a 6-4 victory. In Game 2, Gordon Graceffo gave up 3 earned runs over 3 1/3. Lars Nootbaar collected a couple of extra base hits with a solo home run and a double, but the bullpen struggled as the Royals scored in 5 consecutive innings, leading to the 8-5 loss. The Cardinals will have the day off today before hosting their division rival, the Cubs, this weekend. Sonny Gray will get the start on Friday.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
Brooke, Dan, and Randy here, and we're talking about Team USA men's basketball facing Canada last night and a little tune-up before they tip off in the Olympics on July 28th. And I'm curious, are you guys invested in what's happening with Team USA basketball? And I think that this team is as star-studded as ever, and you have the rise of NBA stars coming in, European NBA stars. I think that personally, it matters even more so because of that, because you have Jokic, you have Wemby, you have Giannis, and they're taking over the NBA. For Team USA, it feels like they need to win gold, in my opinion.
As globalized as the sport is, and we've talked about arguably the top 4 players in the league are not American-born players. If you want to go Giannis, Doncic, Jokic, you can put other. I think we have to put Jason Tatum in that list now. But 4 of the top 5 probably are foreign-born players, and Wemby, like you mentioned. That being said, no other country has the collection of quality players that the United States has. I thought, and I don't use the word embarrassed very often in sports, but I thought the 2014 was kind of an embarrassment when they didn't win gold. Once we put our pros in the Olympics, we should win gold every year. And that's the way I feel about it. With this group, I am invested. I watched last night, and I do think they should win gold, and I think it'll be kind of catastrophic if they don't.
I think if you said on paper who's the best team, it has to be the American team, the USA team, the best collection of talent. But in a short amount of time, and this is what they face every time they do this, international competition, can they get individuals to play team, where these other teams have been together and you watch them and they play team basketball? I think you're asking a hard thing. It should be done, can be done, but in a short amount of time, can you take great individuals and make them a team? And that would be my question mark going in.
But we used to have a week. The NBA players that get together a week before the Olympics and think that they could be an all-star team and win. That's what happened in 2004. Ever since Jerry Colangelo took over and Mike Krzyzewski as coach, this is a 30-day process leading up, and there's a lot that goes into it. Steve Kerr is now Team USA's coach. Krzyzewski had it for 3 different Olympics. And I think the continuity and not just throwing together an all-star team does benefit the USA. And playing on the global stage, a guy like Jason Tatum has already played on the global stage and knows what's expected of him. Every player that walks in now, before they play in the Olympics, is probably going to play in a world championship so that they can understand the difference in the international game and be prepared for it. Because that was another problem with the 04 team is that they weren't prepared for the international game. And then when Krzyzewski took over for the Redeem team, He made the players practice with the different ball. He made sure that they knew about only 5 fouls, that you have 4 quarters, and the way that the officials call the game. There's a great documentary about the Redeem team and all of the things Krzyzewski was able to teach these NBA players about how different the international game is.
So you had the Dream Team, and now you had the Redeem Team, as you mentioned. What do you call this team?
We have to think of something that rhymes
really good
with team. Yeah.
But I think it goes to your point, though, about how important camaraderie is when you're building this team together, as you talked about with the Redeem Team. There needs to be some identity for this group rather than just throwing a bunch of stars together.
I think with the Redeem Team, the identity was Kobe Bryant. When he ran right through Pau Gasol.
That was huge.
It was unbelievable. Basketball, though, being a global sport, they have caught up in a lot of ways. And you watch them play a team game as opposed to individuals and a collection of guys. It's tough to get them together. There's a lot of egos, you know, and that's up to Steve Kerr to put egos away and make this thing a smooth transition into playing these games.
And we are never going to dominate games. I think the original Dream Team in '92 won by an average of something like 38 points a game. They're going to win by that much, but got to win the games.
Absolutely. And I'll be invested. I'll watch that probably more than I'll watch any other sport that is concerning the Olympics. I love it. It's fun, and can't wait to see it happen.
I'll watch it, too. I mean, I would say that, Dan, I'm in the category that you're in as well, being like a more casual basketball fan. I know what's going on. I know the stars, that different kind of stuff, but I'll watch Team USA.
You kind of asked, like, would you care? I don't know if I'd really care. You know, like if they lost.
I want them to win gold.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm saying if they lost, though, I'm all right with it. If I watch good basketball, I'm happy with that. I'm seeing the best players in the world.
If the USA loses, it'll ruin my night. Every time the USA plays, I guarantee you I'm going to be wearing a flag shirt.
Is that right?
It doesn't matter like which sport it is either. You want USA to take gold in everything.
I do, but this is our sport.
Yeah.
That's the difference, is that the same thing with baseball. I felt bad when the USA lost to Japan in the World Baseball Classic. But basketball is the quintessential American sport, and there's no way that we should be able to throw our second team out there and win gold.
I hate that baseball is not a part of the Olympics.
Yeah.
I love that golf is. I think that's just phenomenal. But not having baseball in America's pastime, that sucks.
It'll be there in L.A.
I would agree. It'll come back.
The problem is they don't have baseball fields in Paris.
Right.
That's what we're dealing with.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And if you're in the middle of the summer, it's got to be an amateur team, too. Can't take major league players and just shut this thing down for 3 weeks.
Yeah. And again, you go back to like that team that we had in '84 with McGuire and Will Clark and Randy Johnson. I mean, it was we had an amazing team of college players. But now, if the U.S. plays a team from Japan, if a group of U.S. college players goes and plays a team from Japan, they probably aren't going to beat them because our major leaguers couldn't beat Japan.
So we need Team USA to win gold so that Randy, his night isn't ruined, or his day.
Yeah. I'm going to be so American that day.
You wear your Folds of Honor shirt?
I will, yeah.
Yeah,
Everything.
for sure.
Flags everywhere.
Yeah. I've got flag shorts I might even wear.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a sight.
Yeah. That's Randy, Dan. I'm Brooke. Coming up next, we have the fight, and we need a fighter to take on Randy. Yes, yes, Randy. We always need a fighter to take you on. Just about always, I would say. The fight's coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Sure, today is going to be nice. It's only going to get up to about 87 degrees, but you know the warm St. Louis summer is going to be here for most of the summer. And if you haven't had your air conditioner serviced by Hoffman Brothers yet, you need to. Give them a call or text them at 314-664-3011 or visit hoffmanbros.com to set up your appointment. You need to change that air filter, and Hoffman Brothers will come by. They'll take a look at your air conditioner, make sure that it's healthy and it's good to go for the rest of the summer. And they'll also give you kind of a timeline if your air conditioner is older as to how much time it has left. Hoffman Brothers is amazing. They're a proud Mitsubishi Electric elite contractor. Their home protection plan is great, and they'll call you to set up the appointments that you need when you are a member of the home protection plan, and you'll really enjoy working with their people. They hire great people that are friendly and knowledgeable and will do the job right, and they care about you. They're honest, and they care about you making sure that you're happy and comfortable. That's what they do at Hoffman Brothers. You can give them a call or text right now, 314-664-3011, or visit hoffmanbros.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals are swept yesterday in their doubleheader against the Royals 6-4 in Game 1 and then 8-5 in Game 2. In Game 2, a little bit of a piggyback start for Gordon Graceffo as he went 3 1/3 innings pitch, gets hit for 3 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, and a home run. Matthew Liberatore comes in on the piggyback with 1 2/3. He also gives up 3 earned runs for the Cardinals. They are off today before closing out the first half of the season against the Cubs in a 4-game series starting on Friday. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Drive. Brooke, Dan, and Rocky here, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter today is Marty. Marty, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Brooke. How we doing?
Oh, I'm feeling great. I love the energy that you have this morning. Is this your first time facing Randy in the fight?
First time. I've been trying for a while. I'm jacked up for talking about USA Olympics.
Yeah, there you go. All USA Olympic questions.
Now, are you being a little facetious with saying that, or did you like that little segment we did?
I'm kind of on your guys' side. It won't bother me either way, but I love Randy's energy.
Randy's all over it. He's been wanting to talk about that for like 2 different days, and we had segments that got blown out, so we brought it up today, and away we went. And, we filled time until 8:36, which is time for the fight.
Exactly.
Perfect.
All right, you ready to face Randy in the fight?
Yes, I'm ready to rock.
Okay, here we go. Question number 1, Marty. Who is the last Cardinals starter to tally over 200 strikeouts in a season? Is it Jack Flaherty, Lance Lynn, or Adam Wainwright?
Give me Lance Lynn.
Final answer?
Let me lock that in, Danny Mac.
Locked in. Thank you. It's in Sharpie. Okay. Which future NFL team was originally named the Seniors and featured a black and orange uniform, all thanks to a fan vote that was almost immediately ignored? Was it the Chargers, the Rams, or the Raiders?
The Seniors?
The Seniors.
And what was the options again?
Chargers, Rams, Raiders.
I'll go with the San Diego Seniors.
All right, on to question 3.
Aroldis Chapman recently took over the number 5 spot in strikeouts for a reliever. Which former Cardinal closer is up next on the list at number 4? Is it Bruce Sutter, Jason Isringhausen, or Lee Smith?
Lee Smith.
Final answer, Marty?
Yes.
Question 4. Who is the only active player in Major League Baseball with an MVP, 5-time Gold Glover, 5-time Silver Slugger? Is it Jose Altuve, Mookie Betts, or Ronald Acuna Jr.?
Can you repeat that question for me, Danny?
Sure. Only active player in Major League Baseball with an MVP, 5-time Gold Glover, 5-time Silver Slugger. And the options are Jose Altuve, Mookie Betts, or Ronald Acuna Jr.
I'll take Acuna Jr., please.
All right. Let me go get Randy. How you feeling, Marty?
Not very confident at all.
No?
It's a lot easier to listen on the radio. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'll be all right. Yeah.
It's a lot more intimidating, isn't it?
It is. I'm like, damn. All right. Yeah. I'm ready to go. I should have had my grapes. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. I haven't seen Randy eating his grapes as much this week, and he just walked in with a banana. Randy, what's going on with the grapes?
Just didn't have any. I had bananas. So brought in a banana instead.
Potassium.
Too lazy to wash
Great
those grapes.
potassium.
Many times I am, yes.
Yeah.
Randy, say hi to Marty.
Marty, good morning. How you doing?
Great. You go USA, Randy.
USA.
USA.
Yeah. Good.
Exactly.
Thank you, Marty.
It's his first time facing you.
Oh, well, welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm a long-time listener.
Appreciate that.
Love it.
Ready for question number 1?
Ready.
All right. Who is the last Cardinals starter to tally over 200 strikeouts in a season?
Well, let's see. Logic would say that you got to look at Waino, right? Who else have the Cardinals had recently that struck people out? Sonny Gray isn't at 200 yet. Oh, you know who probably? I think with that second half in, because that Waino didn't after like his really 2000 good 14-15. I wonder if Jack Flaherty might be the last Cardinal pitcher to strike out 200 in a season. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Jack Flaherty.
Question 2.
Yes, sir. Bob Gibson.
Stop it. You may want to explain what we were doing there.
Oh, yeah. When Dan was handed the sheet of paper, he said, number 2, Bob Gibson? So,
just trying to mess you up.
I know.
Throw you off a little bit.
I don't think you'll get Bob Gibson on question 2 because which future NFL team was originally named the Seniors and featured a black and orange uniform, all thanks to a fan vote that was almost immediately ignored?
The Senior.
It's not Bob Gibson.
No, it's not. And they are a current NFL team?
Correct.
That was originally called the Seniors. Black and orange. I'm thinking probably Southwestern or maybe the Buccaneers. Orange. Okay,
this is a pretty good one.
Yeah, it is. I could see this happening with a fan vote in the 70s. I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Randall, I had no clue. I would have gone any team. I had no idea about this one. The Seniors.
I'm thinking that we probably didn't have fan votes in the 60s. So I'm thinking probably expansion on. And so and so I'm thinking one of those expansion teams from teams 27 and 28 forward. And I think like it probably would have been politically incorrect in the 90s and 2000s to even like tell somebody that Seniors was one
of the options for your team name.
So 70s, we were politically correct enough, and we had fan votes. So and orange. So I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Bucks as my guess. That's going to be my logic.
Okay, on to question 3.
Okay, Roldis Chapman recently took over.
Hold on, how did you run down all that? You didn't get it right. I'm just going to.
Okay,
either guy got it right, but I'm just going to say. Your logic with this was pretty funny.
Thank you.
I like where you were going with
Appreciate it.
I like when you show us the homework that goes with it. I do. I appreciate it. Roldis Chapman recently took over the number 5 spot in strikeouts for a reliever. Which former Cardinal closer is up next on the list at number 4?
I am going to say that the former Cardinal closer that's next on the list for strikeouts by a reliever or by a pitcher that happened to pitch relief?
Which former Cardinal closer? So let's repeat the question.
Yes.
Aroldis Chapman recently took over number 5 spot in strikeouts for a reliever.
By a reliever.
Which former Cardinal closer is up next on that list at number 4?
The top 5 list includes players who started some games, but the overwhelming majority of their careers, like 95%, has been as a reliever or a closer.
Okay, so somebody like Dennis Eckersley, who's 50-50.
Yes, he's not in that top 5,
okay.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Lee Arthur Smith because he pitched for like 100 years.
Pitch a long time, man.
Like 100 years.
Yeah, he did. Long time. So I'm going to go with Lee Arthur Smith.
Oh, this is my turn.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Who is the only active player in Major League Baseball, with an MVP, 5-time Gold Glover, and 5 Silver Sluggers?
5 Gold Gloves and 5 Silver Sluggers.
And an MVP.
Yeah. Well, the reason I don't think that I don't think Goldie has 5 Gold Gloves, so that was the first one that came to mind for me. see. Cody Bellinger has an MVP. I don't think he has that many. Bryce Harper, certainly not that many Gold Gloves. American League. I'll do the lifeline, Dan. Maybe that'll make it easier for me.
Jose Altuve, Mookie Betts, Ronald Acuna Jr.
I don't think it's Acuna. Could be Altuve. Could be Betts. Let's see. Mookie, 5 Silver Sluggers. Does have the MVP. Definitely has the Gold Gloves. Altuve. I'm going to. I think I'm going to go with Mookie here, just out of respect for his game. But let's see. He's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. You know what? I'm going to go with the veteran status of Altuve. I'm going to go with him instead because Mookie hasn't played as long to have all those Silver Sluggers, and there's a lot more competition in the outfield for the Silver Slugger than there is at second base. I'm trying to think of a second baseman in the American League. Hell, Altuve has 3 batting championships, so that would lead you to believe that he's got multiple Silver Sluggers, and the Gold Gloves are there, and the MVP is there, I think. I'll go with Altuve.
Okay. Matthew?
We have a winner in this. I just bit my tongue. I'm sorry.
Oh, are you okay?
Don't bleed, tongue. Don't bleed, tongue.
I'm sorry about that. We have a winner.
We're not. You are sorry. We're sorry for you.
It's a good thing I didn't choose an industry where I have to talk. We have a winner in today's fight. I'm going to really enunciate here. In this low-scoring fight, was Marty able to take down Randy in his first shot? Or does Megamind walk away, not unscathed, but still a winner? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Karraker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Just win, baby.
Sorry, Marty. I was able to throw him a little curveball in the fourth one and give you a chance, but unfortunately, he still beat you 2-1 in today's fight.
I'll be back. I enjoy listening to the show, guys.
Marty, thanks so
Marty.
much. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for joining, Marty. Let's go through the questions and the answers there. Who was the last Cardinals starter to tally over 200 strikeouts in a season? It is, in fact, Jack Flaherty in that 2019 season. Lance Lynn also did tally 200 strikeouts in the 2019 season, but it was 246 for the Texas Rangers, not the Cardinals. Wainwright's last 200 strikeout season, by the way, Randy, was 2013.
Wow.
But he had 4 in his career between in just that 7-year span, which is pretty impressive. Which future NFL team was originally named the Seniors and featured a black and orange uniform, all thanks to a van vote that was almost completely ignored? Randy, your line of thought was almost perfect, but you just picked the wrong pieces of information. It was 1960, and they kept the black part of the uniform. The Oakland Raiders, by the fan vote in Oakland, were originally called the Oakland Seniors. They got panned in the local papers for that decision, and so after about 3 weeks of getting panned by reporters in the local papers, they decided to make the change. They selected from a committee that narrowed it down to the Admirals, the Lakers, the Diablos, the Seawolves, the Gauchos, the Nuggets, the Seniors, the Dons, the Costers, the Grandies, the Sequoias, the Missiles, the Knights, the Redwoods, the Clippers, the Jets, and the Dolphins.
That was a great question, first off, because now I can keep that in my little trivia bag.
Yeah. The Oakland Seniors.
You hit it on the head, though, Randy. I mean, fan votes in 1960?
Yep. Right, yeah. You wouldn't have thought that would be a thing.
And he grabbed the uniform, and he's like, well, you take one of the uniform colors that's a little off the beaten path, and you roll with it. He took orange and ran with the Bucks.
Yep.
They took black and obviously ran with the black and silver for the Raiders. Aroldis Chapman recently took over the number 5 spot in strikeouts for a reliever. Which former Cardinal closer's up next on the list at number 4? It is, in fact, Lee Arthur Smith, who had 2 back-to-back 40-save seasons for the Cardinals, which, when you look at save stats, is insane. Jason Isringhausen never did that. The only active player in Major League Baseball with an MVP, 5 Gold Gloves, and 5 Silver Sluggers. Randy, you were on it for a little bit there. Is, in fact, Mookie Betts. He has 6 Gold Gloves and 6 Silver Sluggers. Here's the thing. Paul Goldschmidt, you were correct. He only has 4 Gold Gloves. He has 5 Silver Sluggers. Jose Altuve has 1 Gold Glove.
Wow.
And Ronald Acuna Jr. hasn't won one yet.
That's amazing.
Which is honestly kind of insane with me, but I wanted to get those stats out there. That's why I put him there as the option. So a 2-1 win for Randy Karraker in the fight today. Marty, thank you again for joining the fight and joining the show.
Thanks, guys. I just want to say, Danny Mac, I grew up listening to you in our living room every night. Love you. Happy everyone's doing well.
Thank you,
Have
sir.
a good one, Dave.
I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Very nice of Marty.
Very nice. By the way, I think Mookie Betts, I could be wrong. I think he just celebrated 10 years now in the major leagues. Does it seem like he's been around 10 years?
Well, no, it doesn't.
I mean, I think of him as a Dodger, and I don't think of him at all with the Red Sox, even though he had great years with the Red Sox.
No, he was not with. Did he come up the year after they beat the Cardinals in the World Series? Then? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, he was so young whenever he started.
He's, all due respect to Shohei Ohtani, he's the best guy. Betts, a healthy Mookie Betts is not only the best guy on his team, but the best guy in baseball.
5 Gold Gloves, and then he shifts to shortstop.
Yeah, amazing.
One of the most gifted athletes
I've ever seen. Yeah, they're talking about him going from shortstop to playing somewhere else because Rojas hasn't committed an error at short.
Yeah, they moved him back to second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how good he is.
And a great bowler.
A great bowler, yes.
Yeah.
He was the type that he could pick up any sport. Same Middle Tennessee area that I grew up in. He's the type that could pick up any sport, didn't matter, and he would excel at it.
Okay, so back in the day, top of your game, Mookie Betts versus Brooke Grimsley in tennis.
He'd probably beat me. I don't know. He would be so good at everything. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too generous here.
You got to come out and say, yeah, I would have beaten him.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I would beat Mookie Betts.
Why not?
Now, if he wants to play pickleball, no.
No, you're dominant.
Oh, that's where I'm really dominant currently right now.
That's Brooke coming up. They said, what? Here on the opening drive.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. One, it's because I really feel like I've joined a community. It's so much fun. I have so much fun going over the West location and just hanging out, having lunch over there, and then also playing tennis, getting back to the sport I love. Scott has been great with helping me with that, and I work out with Christine, my personal trainer. It's just so much fun going over there, and it's pool season, and the West location has the best pool in town. They always provide such a wonderful experience, and that's why I love my MAC.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What you talking about?
What the hell are you talking about?
What you talking about?
Do you actually listen to yourself when you speak, or do you find you drift in and out?
What you talking about?
Bro, I'm out, man.
It's time for They Said What? So it's interesting that we talked to Greg Amsinger about this earlier, about the current state of baseball development and what you're seeing across Major League Baseball, because Joe Madden was on Foul Territory recently, and he was asked the same thing. And here's what he had to say about the current state of baseball development.
A lot of the coaches these days are coming from places. Driveline and things of that nature. These are today's gurus. I'm here to tell you, man, if I'm starting a group tomorrow, definitely got Larry Bow in that group. Absolutely. I don't care how old Larry Bow is. We need people to pass the game down, to have it played properly. Guys have to be told when they're screwing up, doing things wrong. I think you could watch a lot of games today, and I keep getting queried about, did you see how sloppy the play was? Now, listen, you could have sloppy play with the best instructors in the world. I'm not arguing that. But the game has devolved into the point where everybody's after their own brand and a show me kind of a thing, as opposed to playing this team concept that's individualized by the Dodgers or the Cardinals or the Pirates of the past, which I loved. And I thought the Angels in the 90s and early 2000s, we had an identity. I thought the Rays, when we got to the Rays, we established an identity. Those are the kind of things that's never talked about anymore. It's all based on analytical data and a sameness. Everybody wants a sameness when it comes down to draft. And furthermore, there are no minor leagues anymore. That's been so watered down. I'm here to tell you, man, under these circumstances, I never get an opportunity.
I agree with every single thing that he was saying. Now, I do understand that there is a place for analytics, but what Greg was saying earlier, and what I believe that Madden is alluding to here, is that the fact that it's taking over the game too much, that is the first thing, and that is at the forefront of what these players are thinking about. And it has a lot to do with the agents. It has a lot to do with the money, and then maybe even what the teams are looking for and asking for. But sometimes just simplifying things and getting back to what worked from the beginning, just letting it be a simple game instead of just shoving iPads, as Greg said, at these young players.
And I think one of the things that we've run into when he talks about the sameness of every team, that's a product of analytics too, because everybody thinks they can win the exact same way. Mm-hmm. And kind of for the exact same price. So it's become a game of power pitching and of home runs, and it's getting away from that to an extent, but still, it's that way. And because of the individualization of the sport, there really isn't a unit being built anymore. The Cardinals of the 80s were built in a specific way, and they were built as a unit. You had one big hitter in the middle of the lineup, and Whitey said a bunch of jackrabbits, right? People that could run. What team now looks different than other tems? What team plays a different style than other teams? I don't think of the 30 teams in Major League Baseball, there is one. Now, there are teams that have otherworldly players. When you go get a Betts, when you go get an Ohtani, you're going to look different. When you have an L.A. De La Cruz on your team, you're going to look different. But the way the team is built essentially is the same for every team.
I thought the other thing that was interesting to me, if you kind of read between the lines, I think he's talking about, and it's very important, but dealing with personalities. Not just one size fits all kind of thing, but dealing with the individual. The other thing, too, you bring in Larry Bowa or some of these older guys that have played or managed or coached, it's instant credibility. Those guys walk into a clubhouse, they have instant credibility. That's something that's very important.
Do you think that's the case?
With these guys?
Yeah.
I do. Yep, I do.
I was told that Cardinal players couldn't care less about Willie McGee's credentials.
I don't agree with that. I talked to players about it. They love Willie, and there's an understanding that they went back and looked at his history and looked back. I had a conversation with a player one time, and he said, man, I went back and looked at Willie's 1985 season. He was unbelievable. I said, yes, he was. And that's why one of the reasons he's beloved in this town is that he put up numbers. He was also humble. Now, I say all that, and I was with an individual yesterday. I'm not going to say his name, but he is part of what we're talking about here. Drive line, looking at analytics, spin rate, launch angle, and every kid that comes through his system. And he deals with high school kids, he deals with prior to high school kids, and he deals with some of the top college kids. okay, in the top programs in the country. This is how they are taught the game. Whether you like it or not, whether you're Joe Madden and you like it or not, I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's how they are taught the game. It's just the way it is.
It is. It's that cookie cutter mentality. It's almost like McDonald's. You're basically franchising things, and where it's the same thing for every single team instead of these individual identities and what teams are known for. I think another interesting part of this is I'm thinking back to our interview with Kyle Gibson, where Randy, I believe it was you or Dan that asked him about if he reviews what he was doing in a game, and he said that he's actually watched less tape of himself recently, because I could see that being an overload of information. Of course, players go back, they review, they have meetings where they go back and watch games and even individually what they need to do. But when you go back after, you're out there in the game, come immediately in the dugout, and you go on your iPad, then you're not paying attention to fully what's going on in the game. And I could see how that'd be a big distraction. It also takes away from the team mentality aspect, because how do you know fully what's going on with your teammate in that moment if you're too busy looking at your iPad?
I was floored one time. I talked to a player and I said, "What do you do in between bats?" And he said, "I actually watch how they are approaching my side of the plate." And I said, "Really? You watch?" He said, "Absolutely." He said, "If I see how, let's just say, for an example, a pitcher is approaching a left-handed batter, that means there might be some tendencies because of how he feels that day, and it doesn't necessarily match up with what he did 5 days ago. So I'm watching what he does against a left-handed batter." I was floored because most guys are going back, looking at the iPad, seeing what they did, how they were approached, and then also in the back of their mind, understanding tendencies going in. What's he going to throw on a 2-1 count? What am I going to get on 1 and 2? You know what I mean? He's starting to look at those kind of things. So it's about in-game adjustments, and I'm not sure we see a ton of that along the way.
And you can go either way, because how much did we watch Albert going into the dugout and using the iPad?
I was thinking about that,
once it was available. But McGuire is like Greg Amsinger. McGuire says that they should take iPads out of the dugout, that it should be you should be using your eyes and your brain.
Well, with Albert, that experience, he knows how to kind of funnel in and out that information. And that's the thing is with some of these younger players, when we're talking about Jordan Walker, the information overload I'm sure he's experiencing right now, it takes that experience and having been there and done that, which where a lot of those veteran players, of course, have, of knowing what information to take in and take out.
I think for Michael Ciani to stay in the league, he has to bunt. And he's one of the few people, I would say, that needs to sacrifice, bunt for a hit. And that's how he stays in the league, along with his unbelievable defense. But how many players can you say that right now in Major League Baseball? They stay because they play a productive style of baseball that even includes them giving themselves up.
And to the credit of Ali Marmol, he has established a little bit of an identity with this team, with the aggressiveness, the double steals, the hit and runs, the stolen bases. Now, they aren't prolific, but at least they're moving forward. And if they could ever get Victor Scott II going, if you have Victor Scott II and Mason Wynn on your team offensively, you can establish an identity that nobody else in the league at least has.
Is there another Michael Ciani right now that plays and this well and will bunt?
No, and he could run. He could be a base stealer for you too. So you could have somewhat of an identity there. But it's not like Donovan can't run. We know Alec Burleson can steal bases, right? Biscuit can get around. So maybe that is an identity that the Cardinals could forge to try to make Joe Madden happy.
The individual that I talked to yesterday, the first thing he talked about was showcase. Yeah. This is what you do at a showcase. Oh. And you're not going to make it by bunting. It's just not the way it goes. And then you learn, you ask the question, do the players know how to actually learn the game?
Yeah.
Like understand situational baseball, and the answer is probably no.
I'll never forget it. And we could find the cut, but Matt Holliday was talking about one of his sons playing at a showcase, and they were playing the showcase game, ground ball back to the pitcher. He throws it over the first baseman's head by 10 feet. And Matt said, but none of the people that were evaluating there cared because he threw it 105 miles an hour.
Well, that's how Trevor Rosenthal was found. He was playing shortstop and fired one over, and they said, well, we can make this guy a pitcher. But the whole reason was because he was throwing 100 miles an hour across the diamond, and then they feel like, hey, we can turn that guy into a pitcher.
One last question for you guys, because you brought up minor leagues. Is there a way to fix that, where you can get back to more of that team mentality? Because, of course, when the guys get to the majors, they're able to carry that on. And we talk about having a cohesive message in the entire organization from the top down, from the majors to the minors. It seems like there isn't some of that cohesion in Major League League Baseball between the minors and the majors.
I wish I knew how other organizations worked it. There used to be a Cardinal way that Tony La Russa or Whitey Herzog or Joe Torre, they related to their minor league managers and coaches how they wanted the game played. And so when a player went from A ball to Double A, there was a Cardinal way to play the game. When he went to Double A to Triple A, he was playing the way that he was expected to play with the Cardinals. Get to the major leagues, and you are prepared to play the game the way that the manager at the major league level wants it. I don't think that happens in the Cardinal. I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen in the Cardinal organization right now. I wonder if there are organizations. Joe Madden wrote in his book that before every spring training, they would get a conference room at their hotel, their spring training hotel. He would have all the minor league coaches and managers there, and he and his major league pitching coach and his major league hitting coach would run down everything that they wanted a Tampa Bay Ray or a Chicago Cub to play like.
I think every organization does say we have a philosophy that we want to adhere to, but then you get into guys trying to make it to the big leagues and they have to hit for launch angle, so philosophy may go out the window.
Yeah,
I think that's part of it. The individual style of the particular player takes over to what you see as a philosophy for an organization.
It's a really interesting discussion, and it looks like it's not going away anytime soon. That's They Said What. Coming up next, we have our Rush Hour Reset. Ollie Marmol says that he was ticked off a little bit by the Cardinals losing in the doubleheader yesterday. Are you? We're going to discuss that coming up next. Hey everyone, it's Brooke here. Is credit card debt stressing you out? Well, you should call my friends over at Golden Oak Lending. They can help with Smart Cash, which is low interest money. Here's a story of a success story that they had here recently. Amy just had her fourth child and they needed to finish their basement in their house. She and her husband put most of it on their credit card, about $20,000, but they were still paying double-digit credit card interest. They did their best, paying $900 every single month, but it was just really overwhelming. Her dad suggested calling Golden Oak Lending to see if her home had increased in value. That way she could use that extra equity to pay off the credit card. Sure enough, even though they had refinanced before, their home had increased in value. Golden Oak got them their $20,000 in cash. She paid off their credit cards, and Amy and her husband are thrilled that they don't have that $900 a month payment just hanging over their head. Many people, just like Amy, don't realize how easy it is to use their home's equity to get Smart Cash. If you need cash, go call my friends over at Golden Oak Lending. It's easy. They do all the work for you, and it won't cost you a penny out of pocket. Give them a call today at 314-567-GOLD now to get started, or go to goldenoaklending.com and see all of the reviews and success stories for yourself.
No, this one ticks me off a little bit, but we've been playing good baseball. These guys were ready to go today. They competed well. You look at the swings that we took that the guys weren't rewarded for. I mean, you had Donnie, Burleson, Nato, Newt all hit balls on the screws just right at somebody, which could have led to some more runs. But I felt like we competed well. We gave up more runs than we usually do, and it cost us.
The Cardinals get swept in a doubleheader by the Royals yesterday, 6-4 in the opener, 8-5 in the nightcap. Rough day and night for the Cardinal bullpen, and a much-needed day off today. Hopefully they can somewhat hit the reset button and come back in the opener of a 4-game series against the Cubs tomorrow. If there is one or two good things to be taken out of yesterday, and the last couple of days, it's that Ryan Helsley didn't pitch again, so he should be fresh and good to go heading into the All-Star break, and an extra day of rest for Sonny Gray and Kyle Gibson, the Cardinals veteran starters, and Lance Lynn, all getting that extra day of rest because we're honoring the off day because Gordon Graceffo pitched the nightcap last night. So a little less wear and tear on these pitchers' arms.
Well, less wear and tear except for Andrew Kittredge. We were discussing that earlier. It was his 43rd appearance, I believe. Is that correct?
41, I believe.
41. Okay, 41st appearance. And he's
really... 41 innings. Sorry, Brooke. But
no, you're fine.
Either way, it's a lot of workload for sure.
It is.
Definitely 41 innings.
Yeah, 41 innings. And so a lot of wear and tear. Go ahead, Rocky.
Sorry, 43 games.
Yeah, and so there's been a lot of wear and tear there. And you mentioned this earlier, Dan, with the velo drop with Matthew Liberatore. Do you think it has anything to do with him preparing to be a starter, which we've seen him utilize recently, and then going back into the pen in this role? I know it was more of a bullpen game yesterday.
I guess it could. I mean, you look at anything that's on the table at this point, or just mechanically, sometimes you get out of whack, and then all of a sudden you have a dip in velocity. Salvador Perez hit one that was just an absolute bomb. It was a 90-mile-an-hour pitch, and either that's a changeup that's too hard or a fastball that doesn't have enough juice on it. And he crushed it. So the velocity was down, and I think that's something to watch for his next appearance is where's the velocity? Mm-hmm. And that's something from the entire doubleheader that caught my attention. The other part of the doubleheader was that you had Arenado and Goldie homer in the same game for the first time in 2024, and you didn't take advantage of that. Burleson also hit a home run in that game. You hit 3 home runs, you usually anticipate a win. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen, but you're also talking about runners in scoring position. There was 15 batters that the Cardinals sent to the plate. No one reached base, so the hitting was kind of hit and miss. They hit a bunch of balls to the track. They just didn't get over the wall. And it's just one of those days where you're flat out beat, and they got beat by the Royals.
Yeah, the bullpen struggled. It was a very uncharacteristic day for the bullpen. They allowed 7 runs over 8 1/3 innings. And you heard Ollie what he said. Now, the question that was asked for him is like, okay, well, you have this doubleheader. Do you just look past it and look to this series with the Cubs? And that's why he said, like, no, I'm ticked off by this. In that situation, you don't want to get swept, of course, but what is your big takeaway from all of that? Are you frustrated with that? Does it change your mind about anything, or is it something that, yeah, you don't want to get swept in the doubleheader, but you just look past it?
I don't think you can look past it because you shouldn't get swept in a doubleheader at home. And the Royals, all due respect, they're a really good team this year. They've made a lot of dramatic changes, but we weren't seeing the best that the Royals have to offer. So I would say that if I were in Ollie Marmol's shoes, I would say that at least one of those games should have been winnable. Now all the Cardinals have to do, because we talked about it yesterday, as the Cardinals opened to this homestand, now just sweep the Cubs. And all of a sudden you're 4-2 on the homestand and everything's hunky-dory.
What's interesting about the Cubs coming in, I think it's going to be 4 right-handers that the Cardinals will face because Imanaga and Steele are going against Baltimore. But last night I was watching the game, and Cody Bellinger left their game last night. He was hit on the finger by a pitch. He isn't having a huge season, but that's a loss and maybe complicates his trade market. He's going to be a guy that certainly the Cubs could get some value back for. And as I say that, the Cubs have just called up an outfielder, Alexander Canario. He's headed to Baltimore today, which means probably, I would assume, some bad news for Cody Bellinger, and we may not see him in the weekend series.
And I'm amazed. People, even people that I guess, I don't know how people get writing jobs these days.
Where are you going with this?
But there was a writer somewhere that suggested that the Cardinals should trade for Cody Bellinger with the Cubs.
Well, left-handed bat, you got enough outfielders, don't you?
Yeah, right. So
Right.
Why do the Cardinals want a left-handed hitting outfielder that makes a lot of money and has an opt-out after this year?
And your center fielder defensively is maybe better than anybody in the game.
Right.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
No, none whatsoever.
I guess anybody can get a computer and write these days.
Randy.
I'm just saying.
You can just say.
Just pay attention, okay? That's all I ask. Pay attention.
How about a right? If he would have said right-handed bat, you would have been all over it.
You know, I even responded to the guy. I said, even though he hasn't played much this year, if you give me a Luis Robert, I can at least get on board with the fact that he's a right-handed hitting center fielder.
Yep, which would make sense.
Yeah, but I just can't get on board with Bellinger.
No, I can't see that happening. Quick question for you guys. Tommy Edman, he did not play last night. Now he had told...
Tommy Edman.
It's kind of
Or
sad
is it
claps.
Tommy
Yes.
Edman?
Well, he was a late scratch because he's dealing with soreness after he played that game the other day. So does it seem like that timeline is still going to fit? It concerns me that you play one game and then you have to be a scratch for another one because of soreness.
Concerning.
It's concerning, and his clock is ticking because you only get a certain amount of days on a rehab assignment. So he's got to be able to get up and be ready to go by the time that his stint in the minors is up. I wonder if the general soreness, when they say that, is about the wrist specifically, or the fact that he hasn't played in a major league game for, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, and legs, back, whatever, arm. You can have general soreness on everything, but bottom line is he's got to get in the batter's box to get his timing back.
One thing I never considered until the pandemic, when the Cardinals came back from the pandemic. Remember Colton Wong talking about how he wanted to make it a point to stand for 3 hours because he hadn't for such a long time?
You haven't done it.
You don't consider that, right?
No, and you come back in, and I know that sounds crazy, and fans will say, give me a break. He hasn't played forever. Get back out there. There is a thing such as general soreness to the body. It happens, but I think the big question is this about the wrist and how the wrist is feeling?
Yeah. By the way, last night, after the basketball game, I go to bed, and our puppy, kind of a puppy, she turns 2 next week.
General soreness for the puppy? You
No.
think? Okay.
But it relates to what we're talking about here. So I get into bed. It's 11:30, 11:35, 11:40, something like that. And she comes up and she starts pawing at my arm. About 11:35, 11:40 at night. Is that a late scratch?
Oh, Rand. Okay, Dan, I didn't know where that was going. I should have known.
I don't know. He went from writers to Bellinger to right-handed bats to a dog scratching him.
I mean, technically it is a late scratch.
Thank you.
Yeah. You said what time was it?
About 11:40 at night or something.
Oh, okay.
Coming up, we got maybe some audio from Greg or Reed hit the 7. Oh, okay.
Greg thinks the Cardinals are going to win their division still. He's going to tell you why next on 101 ESPN. Social media and technology is such a huge part of making your business function properly these days. And it's a huge part of getting customers, getting people into your business. Well, there's a company that you need to get in touch with. It's called 2060 Digital. It's a sister company of 101 ESPN. And at 2060 Digital, they know all about social media. They know all about algorithms. They all know all about how to get your company more successful because of your website. At 2060 Digital, they're going to help you build the best website for your company. They're going to use algorithms so that when somebody does a Google search in your category, you'll come up on the front page of that person's Google search. And they do great work with social media, teaching you how to properly use social media so that you can reach the most customers possible. 2060 Digital has fantastic people in their analytics department that can tell you exactly how well they're working too. If you want to connect with customers in the best way possible, it's 2060 Digital. Get a free digital audit today by going to 101ESPN.com/2060Digital.
Said on MLB Network that there are two teams that really need to be worried after the All-Star break, and that's the Seattle Mariners. I think the Astros are coming. They're going to take the division. And the Milwaukee Brewers, that the Cardinals are coming. They're going to take the division. And I stand by both of those statements. I had Cliff Floyd agree with me. He thinks the St. Louis Cardinals will run down the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers just don't have enough depth. While Christian Yelich looks 100% healthy, the rest of that team has a lot of inexperience, and he doesn't see the pitching depth that the Cardinals have. What I'm saying on MLB Network, night in, night out, the Cardinals are coming, and it's inevitable. I don't see, unless the Brewers do something dramatic, and they acquire someone in the likes of Corbin Burns, who they traded away, which is the irony of this whole thing. If Corbin Burns was with the Milwaukee Brewers right now, I don't think I would say the Cardinals will run down the Brewers. But because he's not there and they never replaced him, I think the Cardinals are going to run down the Milwaukee Brewers.
Greg Amsinger earlier today here on 101 ESPN. Greg, of course, the lead anchor for MLB Network. And it's hard to disagree. When you look at the Brewers, they have now started 16 different starting pitchers this year. Freddie Peralta has started 18. He's the only guy on their team to start every game that was available to him. Colin Ray has started 16. Tobias Myers has started 13. Those are the only three pitchers they have that have started double-digit games. People like Rob Zadrinsky, Aaron Savali, who's with them now, Jacob Eunice, Hobie Miller, Wade Miller, those guys, Wade Miley rather, who's out for the year. Those guys have all started 1, 2, 3, 4 games for the Brewers, and they just don't, as Greg said, have the starting pitching depth to be able to sustain what they've done in the first half.
But they still find a way to win. Like last night, they were able to blank the Pirates, winning 9-0. How are they able to do this? And I think it is fair to question how they could sustain this, but so far they've still been able to maintain at the top of the division.
Healthy. on their position players in terms of their second baseman has emerged. He's an outstanding player. You look at Yelich, probably the back is going well, and he's finally healthy. I think for the Cardinals, I look at August, and this is going to be the telltale for them. They've got 3 days off total. 2 of those are in 1 week, but they've got the Cubs for 4. They've got the Mets in a makeup. They've got the Tampa Bay Rays. You go to Kansas City, go to Cincinnati. You've got the Dodgers, then the Brewers, the Twins, who are playing well, the Padres for 4, then go to New York and take on the Yankees. Kind of a gauntlet of a schedule, and you're going to know more about the Cardinals probably in that month as opposed to even any other month, even September, just trying to get through August, the dog days, but a schedule that can be a little daunting right now for the Cardinals.
That's why I'm so interested to see at the trade deadline what happens. Do you think there's anything left that John Mozeliak needs to see from this team going into the All-Star break when he's making these final decisions?
We all know.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, and he knows. Now, the question is, can he get a starting pitcher that's better than what he trotted out yesterday in Gordon Graceffo? I don't know that the Cardinals, I do know that the Cardinals don't need a number 5 starter. They need a front of the rotation guy. They've got enough guys, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th starters. They've got enough of those guys. What they need to do is, if they want to utilize the assets, go out and get a pitcher that's capable of pitching game 1 or 2 of the playoffs.
The question is, though, are you that team? Do you believe enough in your team? And they know inside those walls down at Busch Stadium whether or not they're good enough. And if you get that guy, if you get that 1 or that 2, how much of a jolt? Now, that's what you don't know, what a jolt that gives to a team. And there is residual effects when you make a trade. Not only what happens between the white lines, but the jolt that you send. And I mentioned it yesterday, that ownership buys into this team, our front office buys into this team, and they buy into us ultimately to get over the hump. And I do think that's important when you make a deal.
Well, and you've seen the resilience. We've talked about that, how the Cardinals have been able to really just mount an incredible comeback, the best in the National League. So I feel like you also have to do it for the players in that aspect, because they have shown you that despite a lot of adversity that they had to face and a lot of stuff they had to navigate through, like injuries with Wilson Contreras, Lars Nootbaar, various different things like that, that they were still able to push through to this point. So I feel like you also have to do it for the players and show them, okay, we're going to add to this and make a push to the playoffs, but also a piece, like you're saying, Randy, that could really help them not just get into the playoffs, but really sustain a run during the playoffs.
By the way, Danny, you mentioned the Cardinals' schedule in August. There's a 2-week stretch for Milwaukee between August 6th and August 22nd, where they go to Atlanta. Then they've got the Reds at home for 3, Dodgers at home for 4, Guardians at home for 3, then they come here to St. Louis. So that might be the make or break for the Brewers, is the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Guardians. 10 games against those 3 teams in a 2-week stretch.
Here's the other thing. Bob Nightingale, I asked him the question about the trade deadline, and I didn't agree with him. I think this is going to be a really fascinating, and I love Bob. I think he's great, but I didn't agree with him. He kind of said the trade deadline, I'm paraphrasing, could be kind of underwhelming. I think seeing the asking prices for some of these top players is going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be higher than it ever has, just because a lot of teams are still in it. We talk about it a lot. There's 3 teams maybe out, 4 or 5 teams out of contention. And some of those teams feel like, hey, if we make that deal, go get a frontline starter, get Crochet, we got a chance to win. I think the asking prices are what makes this a fascinating trade deadline coming up.
And who will give up, like a couple of years ago with Castillo for Seattle? They gave up their top 4 prospects to Cincinnati.
Exactly. And I think you're going to see some of that.
I think you will, too. That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Coming up, MLS Season Pass broadcaster Tyler Teran's on the call for City this weekend. His 5th match for City. We'll have him next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided it was time to make a major upgrade to our home by updating our bathroom. We have this house in U City. It's over 100 years old, and we love it, but we never exactly loved our main bathroom. So we decided to reach out to one of our great sponsors here of 101 ESPN, and that is E&B Granite. E&B Granite's team visited our house for a free consultation, and they really came up with a vision of how to transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with E&B Granite was stopping by their showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops, all of their cabinet options. Jen was the one who has been working with us, and she's just been fantastic. She came up with so many great ideas for us that fit within our budget, and that's what they've been doing there in E&B Granite for over 20 years, turning visions into realities. So schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online at embgranite.com or stop by their showroom today and make sure you mention that I sent you.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals swept yesterday in their doubleheader against the Royals. They'll try to get back into the win column tomorrow as they start their final series of the first half, a 4-game series hosting the Chicago Cubs. 7:15 first pitch for the game tomorrow on Apple TV+. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Brooke Grimsley, Dan McLaughlin, Randy Karraker, the opening drive, 101 ESPN in St. Louis this weekend at City Park, 7:30 on Saturday. The Vancouver Whitecaps will be in town to take on St. Louis City SC. All of the MLS games are free on Apple TV Plus this weekend, and among those games will be the St. Louis-Vancouver matchup. And Tyler Teran will be on the call for our game. He joins us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Tyler, thanks so much for the time this morning. How you doing?
I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the game this weekend. And I didn't realize that I was going to be called a celebrity this early in the morning, so I'm certainly I'm feeling good about myself now for sure.
There you go. Well, Tyler, a lot to talk about here with the City SC team, and you've called two very different versions of the squad from early in the season to their midseason struggles. What is the biggest difference that has caused the recent downturn for City?
I think that's the million-dollar question right now with this group, and I know it's an easy narrative to lean on, but I do think that the injuries are absolutely killing St. Louis City this year. But on top of the fact that the finishing, the quality, and the attacking third, and it's really not even chance creation, because I remember doing their game when they were on the road against Dallas, and there was a half-an-hour stretch where St. Louis City were dominant in possession, creating chances. Joao Klaus was bearing down on goal, and they just had a situation where they ran into a buzzsaw and one of the best goalkeepers in Major League Soccer. But that was a small snapshot of what's been a larger theme for this group, and I think goes back to the winter transfer window and not replacing the 23 goals contributions that you either traded or sold over the cross the pond to Europe.
Tyler, what did you think of the coaching move?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I was taken back. I know that St. Louis and the front office very much treat this as what it is, which is a results-driven business. With that said, Bradley Cardinal did something that no other coach in the history of American sports had done, and that's win a regular season title in an expansion season. It's not just MLS. It's something that no other coach has done in expansion sports. So, for me, it was one where I thought that given the lack of moves in the offseason, what they've been dealing with emotionally and mentally with Edu Leuven and what his family has gone through, the litany of injuries, there were a lot of things that, for me as a neutral, I could point to that were not Bradley Cardinal's fault. So I was certainly surprised, but if you're going to go strictly off the results comparatively to what we saw last year, you could theoretically make the argument, but I was definitely taken back.
Well, the Fire game you called earlier this year is the only City win this season without Edward Leuven on the field. If Leuven misses another game on Saturday, how can City get points without being able to control the midfield?
I think it's got to be taking advantage of set pieces and picking your moments on the counter, because this Vancouver team is really, really fun to watch because their coach is one of the best characters that MLS has to offer, and his personality bleeds into his teams. And they're just really fun, but they commit a lot of numbers forward. They expose themselves defensively. So whatever firepower that they may or may not have up top, and, we saw John Klein score a goal. Joao Klaus obviously was injured. I mean, the player availability report was like a receipt from Target for St. Louis going into that last game. So, they need to just find any sort of way to get over the line because, like you said, dominating the midfield and things that they did last year are things of the past, and right now they got to find a different way to win games.
That's Tyler Teran. He'll have the call for St. Louis City SC and Vancouver Saturday night, 7:30 over at City Park. And Tyler, you mentioned the loss of goals for the St. Louis City SC during the offseason, and then obviously the injuries and illnesses and personal issues. Do you see, with a lot of soccer left, any light at the end of the tunnel for City SC? Is there any way that they can make up for the losses? And this is including getting injured or injured players back and players that are having other issues. But can the additions for St. Louis City SC or anybody internally help them make up for the offense that they lost during the offseason?
I do think that there is light at the end of the tunnel in the sense that you're playing in Major League Soccer. You're playing in a league that's based in parity. You're obviously waiting on the signing of Marcel Hartel to come onto the scene, which is going to start July 22nd when the window is officially open and he can start to actually play with the club. But this is going to be an uphill battle. This will be a slog, and I know that coming off of last year, the expectations are incredibly high, but this is going to be a year where St. Louis City, I think, are humbled from a standpoint of trying to scratch and claw their way into a 8-9 wild card playoff situation this year. That's kind of where I see them at the moment. But yeah, there's so many injuries at this point, and the new coach bump that we'd like to call it, and John Hackworth, he got that against the bad San Jose team. Now it's a matter of what does this look like after you lost to an informed Colorado Rapids group and going up against the Vancouver side, who I believe is a team that theoretically could finish inside of the top 4 or 5 in the Western Conference this year, but they're also capable of finishing either 9 or 10. So it just kind of depends on the day that you catch them.
Obviously, a lot of big news surrounding the U.S. men's soccer team currently right now. Were you surprised by the timing of the Greg Berhalter announcement?
No, not so. I mean, surprised that it took as long as it did, maybe. I'm not surprised at the timing of it. I mean, coming into this Copa America, I think the one thing all U.S. men's national team fans wanted to see was us compete at a really, really high level against quality opponents, because we don't get to do that because of the way Nations League and the international calendar is set up now. So no, when we get bounced out of a group that features Panama and Bolivia, I'm not surprised at the timing of it. I think that I'm a little surprised that it's taken this long and he got the second go around, which is, again, an easy narrative to lean on. But if you fired him after getting ousted in the group stage, what you're basically saying is you fired him because of the Panama game. And if one game was the reason for his dismissal, then was he really the right guy for the job when they hired him? Again, those are the sort of questions that I'm asking.
Tyler, I love getting the national perspective from folks like yourself. What is the view of just City, generally speaking, in MLS? The crowds, the stadium, the team, only in their second year, what they're trying to do. Just what's the general feeling about watching City now in MLS?
Well, I think that everybody is empathetic to what's gone on inside of the training ground this year, talking about Ed Lubin and his family and everything like that. I think in terms of this season and the lack of results, I think nobody's really blaming anybody, and everybody's kind of surprised at the Bradley Cardinal firing. However, on a larger scale in terms of the stadium and what you guys have built, the same phrase pops up every time I talk to people about St. Louis in this league, and they're doing it the right way, and they've done it the right way in terms of the stadium, it being downtown, captivating the fan base, which of course, as we know, is soccer crazed. And I called USL games back, from 2017 through 2020, covering St. Louis FC a lot, and even then I could tell that this was a soccer crazed town, and to see them get the first division side that they deserve and doing it in the right way. And it's one of my favorite places to come call a game. And I'm not saying that because I'm on the radio with you, but anytime anybody's asking me my top 5 venues in MLS, St. Louis City is always up there.
Tyler, we don't mind if you just say it for our edification. That's fine. But we're glad that you like coming here. Hey, thanks so much for the time. Enjoy your time here in St. Louis this weekend. Let's see if we can get St. Louis City SC back on track. I know that's not your job, but hopefully they do. And thanks for the time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Take care. Tyler Teran. He'll be calling St. Louis City SC in Vancouver on Saturday night, 7:30 over at City Park.
Do you think he also said that because we called him a celebrity and he was very excited about that?
I think so, yeah. I think that's
He's
part
just
of
pandering to us.
Yep.
And this is a free game, right? Anybody can watch it.
Anybody can watch it on Apple TV Plus, yeah. Just find your MLS season pass setup and you'll be able to watch it, or just head on over to City Park.
I like Apple TV. I've been watching a new show on there. Sorry to get off subject.
What is it?
Presumed Innocent, which has Jake Gyllenhaal. It is so good. So before or after the game, you can watch that on Apple TV.
There you go.
I'll be checking it out.
All right. Sounds good. Coming up next, we've got rock and roll as we head down the stretch of this edition of the opening drive on 101 ESPN. Our buddy Matthew has a birthday coming up in a couple of weeks. I hope Brooke took advantage last week of her free donut at Schnucks with the Schnucks Rewards app. We all love a sweet treat on our birthday, right? Whether it's a cake or a free donut from Schnucks. They want to celebrate their Schnucks Rewards situation with you, and they want to celebrate with their members with a free, freshly baked donut on your birthday. It's part of the all-new personalized perks in the Schnucks Rewards app. To get the free donut, all you have to do is add your birthday to the rewards profile in the Schnucks Rewards app. When your birthday rolls around, just clip the free donut coupon in the Schnucks Rewards app and redeem the coupon at checkout. The coupon is good for your entire birthday week, so no worries if you can't make it into the store on your day. Now, another thing that you should keep in mind, you don't have to wait for your birthday for a free donut at Schnucks. Dingers for donuts is still in play every day. The Cardinals hit a home run like yesterday. You can go to Schnucks, clip the coupon in your Schnucks Rewards app, and get a free donut today when you go to Schnucks. Make sure you get your birthday freebie and your Cardinal freebie by downloading the Rewards app and adding your birthday to the profile today.
I want to rock. End roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
It is time for Rock and Roll here on the opening drive. Matthew Rocchio, as we head down the stretch, what do you got for us today?
Well, we were able to ask Mr. Terans about the firing of Greg Berhalter, and he was right. I don't know why it took so long. But now we turn the leaf. We talk about the positivity side, which is that there's now reports coming out from Miguel Delaney that the United States men's national team has contacted former Liverpool Anfield boss Jurgen Klopp.
Okay.
So here's my first
Miguel
thing.
Delaney?
He's a reporter for The Independent.
Okay, cool. Good. I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't the same guy that came up with the Cardinals should get Cody Bellinger article.
We clarified that now.
Yeah. Shot. All right.
We have.
My first question here, Andy, is because we talked about this literally a couple days ago when we weren't talking about necessarily the greatest coach available right now in the open market. Would you be okay with the United States men's national team being brought to World Cup glory by a non-American?
100%.
I feel like you've changed your tune on this in the last 4 days.
Well, I don't just want a random coach from another country, but if you just qualified it by saying he's going to bring us World Cup glory, I think that means winning.
Yeah, if you promise that,
yeah,
then
the
I don't
World
care
Cup
where
that
they
isn't a
came
cup.
from.
That's what you're hoping every time you hire him, whether or not he's American or not. So yeah, that's what you're hoping for.
World Cup glory.
If Jurgen Klopp, wasn't Jurgen Klinsmann once our coach, by the way?
Yes, he was.
Thank you. I knew that.
Done, Randy. God.
Thank you. But yeah,
by the way, he'd be a better.
If you can give me a guarantee that I'm going to win a World Cup, yeah, I'll take Kloppy.
Kloppy.
All right,
Jurgs.
I just wanted to ask because you were against the idea, and I just wanted to double check because I know you're so pro Mbappe, so I didn't know if it was. Is it just Frenchmen? Is it Germans? You're also down with?
Oh no, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care about that.
All right,
stuff.
good.
My big thing is we are America. We don't have David Blatt coaching our U.S. Olympic basketball team. We apparently do have some foreigner coaching our Olympic under-20 football team. I don't know who it is.
What if Steve Nash wanted to coach the United States basketball team one day?
Canadian.
And so that would be a problem with you?
Come on in here. We got to get this guy in here. Okay.
Oh man,
this is a guy that Joey V. Joey V needs to walk over and hop on the microphone here.
Oh my goodness! What
First
a
morning show. I've been listening to you guys for years. I'm a little shaky right now.
Nervous, aren't you?
Are you nervous?
The
Oh my
man.
God! Give me Dan and Randy, Brooke, the whole gang's here. It's unbelievable.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
How's your summer?
Doing awesome.
Just got back from Florida. Things
you
were
look
great.
tan, man.
Tan.
No, we went to the beach this time.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
You look tan and fit.
I feel tan. It was a trip,
feel
not a vacation. I'm realizing now there's no more vacations anymore.
No. How many kids?
There's 5 of us, and we just pick them up. We put them on a plane. We bring all our problems to Florida for a week, and then we just bring them back home.
Good. Okay.
What was your favorite part?
The favorite part is the bed. I love the bed with my wife on the beach vacations. Not because of what you think, though.
Number
5
6
kids.
is on the way.
I'm a sandy guy in the bed. Like, I don't care. Like, hop in my bed, chips, sand, my wife. If there's one speck of sand in that bed, boom, it blows up. And I love seeing her get aggravated at me.
I'm like you. I don't mind. I don't mind having sand on my feet and getting into bed.
Not at all. The bigger the mess, the better, I feel like. I don't know. Dan, I don't know.
Oh, I'm in. I don't care either. I play golf, and sometimes I just go take a little nap, and then I lay in there, and I got sand on me, and because I'm in the sand a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you get the grass clippings. Yeah, I'm in.
100%.
Just throw me in. I don't care.
Yeah.
Then I get chiggers, and it's fine.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Everyone's aggravated. Everyone's upset. We come back. Everyone's burnt. Everyone's got, what's it called when you get like the sand rash in your underparts?
Sand
area?
rash?
Sand rash in the underparts area. I think that's the technical term for it. But we all got that. And so, yeah, it's wonderful. And then we just keep life going here.
Underparts are doing well, though? Everything's good?
So far, so good.
Good. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so far, so good.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with the
He
teeth.
said it. I just said I want to make sure he's
I'm
all
just
right.
laughing because Joey goes back and forth as to whether or not he wants to continue to procreate.
I never go back. I always go forward. I'm always thinking.
Did you go back one time and then have it reversed?
I did. Well, yeah, that's true. That was more of a joint decision.
That had to be awful.
But then I flip-flopped it. Which now, believe it or not, how much time we have?
As much as you want, brother.
We have I have a lot of scar tissue there now. So when you go through the TSA line, they check you for all that stuff. I got so much scar tissue in my under crotch area that it's an automatic pat down. I get patted down every time. I'll send you a picture. My crotch area lights up. It lights up like a Christmas tree.
Wait a minute. Do you have metal down there or something?
No,
or what
it's
do you
just
got?
scar tissue. So look at this up.
Why is that?
Like cysts, scar tissue, anything will light up in those basically those tubes you come in. So I'm in there, and now my kids, it's a joke. It's been going on for 2 years. Every time I go through, it's automatic. I go through, I go, come on, give it to me. I raise my hands up, and they gave me the full pat down, and everyone's laughing. My kids are laughing. My wife's laughing.
Hold on here.
Yeah, I feel abused every time I hop on a flight now.
Yeah.
You give the old pat down, like they see things lit up.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, sorry.
Give it like 20 years, you'll love it.
You know what? It's a little bit. I was gonna say a little bit of action every now and then is not the worst thing in the world. At least we can make light of it. A couple trips ago, the guy was like, "You have anything sharp or weapons down there?" And my wife, of course, being the humorous one she is, and she goes, "Well, he's got a weapon down there."
Yeah,
already.
you bet.
Oh, and I thought, you can't say that, but she did. And believe it or not, the TSA guy, he started dying laughing. Like he had a great sense of humor. I'm like, you can't say that, and everyone started crying like we're laughing so hard.
So great.
Long story short, yeah, if you get a vasectomy and a reversal and you flip it back. Just so you know, there will be some TSA alerts happening in your world, and be prepared. Just get the pat down every trip.
Okay. Didn't know that.
Nice.
That's interesting.
Now we know.
I will hold on to that information, I guess.
Yeah.
What were you guys talking about?
Whether or not an American should absolutely coach the U.S. soccer team. Would I be happy if I were guaranteed a World Cup with a foreigner coaching my U.S. soccer team? If I'm guaranteed a World Cup, yeah, I'll take it.
I'll take it as well. Yeah. Boys Euro Cup, these games, and even the Copa. I'm like just hooked on it right now.
Yeah.
It's so fun. The fans, the passion. It's been a lot of fun.
Were you listening to the show on the way in?
Of course I was.
You got any hot takes?
Ooh, you guys pretty much nailed them all. What were you guys saying earlier? First of all, the fight today was hard. The Pedro, was it the Pedros?
Senors.
I had no idea.
That was lights out. That was lights out tough. You know what? You guys were talking about the USA men's basketball. I think it's going to be a lot harder to win this year than
I do too.
Someone brought up playing a team. I think it was you, Dan. Like playing as a team.
Yes,
I've seen these Olympic. I was a part of the Penguins when they went to Sochi, Team Canada and USA. Basically half our Penguins team was gone. And trying to put all these stars together on the same team to get them to play a team game. That's why Gino and Sid could never play together, because they both were those alphas. They both needed the puck.
Exactly.
So it's your point. It's hard.
Yeah. Did guys like going to the Olympics for the most part? Even though it disrupted what could be a nice break, or go to Florida and get patted down for some people.
Yeah, as long as you don't have any reverse vasectomies, you're
exactly.
patted down.
Take me to Sochi.
So exactly, getting patted down in Sochi is a little different than getting patted down in Paris, I guess.
Because you were, and this is, I knew that you were out of town. Everybody in the room got carrot cake for the 4th of July.
Oh, I didn't get that.
But because you were out of town. But
have you had it
yet?
I need to.
Dan, I'm the original. The Traeger carrot cake. Did he pipe the carrots on top, the frosting for you though?
He does everything. I've had a little bit of the raisins. I've had the nuts. I've had a little bit of everything.
The nuts are dynamite.
So I got to. I'll bring one to the house. I'll bring one over.
The walnut is the secret. The secret to you need a good texture. You need a good bite. You need a crunch.
You're going to the house, and the kid's going to be like, "Hey, there's some guy in a red shirt with a carrot cake outside."
You know what I did? The last time I just hung it on the door.
I think you did.
Did you? Was it there when you got home?
Oh, it wasn't there for my kids.
No, but you got it.
I'll
bring it by.
Can we do an exchange for your sourdough bread?
Let's do it.
I think that's supposed to be the deal.
That's got to be the deal.
You see, Randy, we have to wheel and deal here.
Yeah, we'll work on that. We'll make it happen. But now they're telling us to leave. Joey V, it's great. Are you talking to business people here? You got a business meeting?
I'm just dropping in to say hi. Just was in the neighborhood.
Awesome.
You're the best.
Yeah, I just want to say hey.
It's great to see you, man.
I'm hopping on the balloon party next.
Okay, love it.
Yeah, a couple Kirkwood dads are gonna talk about all the things Kirkwood.
Sounds great.
For an hour, if you want to listen in.
What's going on in Kirkwood?
Oh, everything.
Anything exciting?
Listen. You gotta hang around. You gotta hang around for a little bit. Find out.
Good to see you. That's Joe Vitale. Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Of course.
And great job, as always, by the awesome Danny Mac.
Oh, you're the best. And what do I say? Not enjoyed it. Pleasure. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you all
But you
for
did enjoy it.
I did,
in,
always.
texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7, have a wonderful Friday Eve, St. Louis.
Bring your ass.